Okay, things are working, I believe. Hello. Oh, I knew it. I knew this wouldn't work. Wait, but don't worry, I've prepared for this day. What up? Hello. Ba-ba-da. What's up? Hello. Welcome to Critical Eyes. A little bit early because I was almost 100% positive that I was going to have a weird technical glitch, and I wanted to be able to address it. Let's see. No, we didn't like that? Hello? Okay, we started a new broadcast. And it worked. Okay. I prepared a way to fix the technical glitch, but I couldn't. I tested it on like unlisted streams, but the issues weren't starting on the unlisted streams anyways. But now we are in and we are good. Hello, what's up, Teprock? Here early, I appreciate it. I actually thought that the issue was going to take longer to resolve, but since it didn't, I guess I'll do a little bit of the spiel early. Trying to do it at the beginning of most streams. Hello, I'm Mega. This is Critical Eyes, episode 84. Part 1. Try to match up the number with the Critical Role episode, but I do 2 streams per episode. This is a stream where I watch through Critical Role for the very first time. I give my take as a long-time DM, talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and generally try to have a good time doing it. And this is, like I said, this is episode 84. I'm excited. I'm especially excited after seeing Age of Umbra to kind of like go back and like not necessarily compare directly. I'm not going to be talking about Age of Umbra a ton. Also, I'm looking at it. It like logged me out of this account. What the heck? Is it on the right? Is it even on the right shit? Wait a second. Pause. Hold. Oh, yeah. Something that I did, like, forcibly logged me out, but I'm back now. I think I should get your chats on screen here in a second. I knew there would be technical issues. I knew it. But yeah, I am very, very excited to go and see Vox Machina again. I didn't end up filming a takeaway, and now it's a little bit too late. I do still want to, but the scheduling stuff with Age of Umbra really threw off my entire development, I guess. And we had a bunch of work going on at the same time on the apartment that our landlord ordered. So, but I think there will be a takeaway for the next one. Generally, I really liked the last episode. Like, most of what you would have heard in the takeaway, you heard in my episode, in my part 2 of episode 83. But I know that people still like the takeaways. I like them too. I'm just not. This one is unfortunately going to get skipped a little bit. I interrupted my AOU episode 2 watch for this, by the way. Thank you very much, Tabrock. I will say, I didn't get to watch it live yesterday because I had another thing that I had to go and do. But it has made me possibly want to get Beacon because now I'm like, oh shit, I have to watch the whole thing on Monday and try to do notes. But I think it'll still be fun. I don't think I will end up getting Beacon. I have some other ideas of what I might do, but I don't normally comment on people's appearances, but you're very 80s glam rock today. Thank you very much. Yeah, like this and it's just fucking hot here. It's actually not even that hot. It's like in the 60s in Chicago. But our apartment really traps heat. Also, this shirt is not a reflection of the way I actually feel, but I've had this shirt for like 8 years, and somehow it is still like the tank top that I own that is holding up the best. I don't know what the hell it is made of, but it still like feels and wears good. And so I will never get rid of it, even though it is very like millennial 2015 coded. It's not the most modern like Gen Z sort of tank top, but that's fine. Password sharing is okay by them, so you could ask someone in Discord. Yeah, it's not so much. I mean, the price is part of it, but there's other stuff, other reasons that I don't want to get beacon. But something I learned in Minnesota in the winter, living on the top floor, you will be hot. Oh yeah, of an apartment building, yeah. Especially depending on the size, you're mostly getting the heat from the other apartments rather than the outside. Yeah. But let me see, and let me just confirm that Megamind is working. I think it is. Broadcast history, very cool. Now, that's not so good. Okay. Okay. There is potentially something skosh wrong. But that's okay. That's okay, because that's okay. I'm going to check one thing really quick, because I think I might know what's wrong. I think I might have accidentally created a duplicate database. Don't you love databases? I love them. They're so, just easy, really. And they have like basically no complications or downsides. They're not hard to work with at all. Really just like the best of all worlds, the best that you could ask for. Now, is that in the debug? That's in the... No, it should be identical. All right, well, whatever. It's working. That's all I need for now. What up, Belphegor? Megamind is a boss name for your program. It is the code name, because I don't know that I'm going to be able to long-term use that. But Megamind is indeed the code name, the current code name for the program. I hope it's blue and a supervillain. I actually do love databases. They're so hard. They're so hard to manage. At least they are hard to manage outside of like a portal that manages them. That's the part that I have a lot of trouble with, is like within like, what's it? EF framework, I think, or E framework. I don't know. I learned about it for this program. But it's like an interface with SQLite, SQLite. That middle layer of like accessing the databases, that's the part that really I have a lot of trouble with. But I think I'm going to turn on that. I don't know why they didn't turn on before. Great. Love that. Everything is working perfectly every single time. And I think we are pretty much ready. Oh, it's because this didn't run. I know exactly what happened. All right. Now we're good. Because now we should have the broadcast title. Nope, we don't. Oh my god, fuck. Shit. All right, one moment. This is why I start early. Because I knew I was walking into a situation where I had done a lot of technical modifications on the back end, and I needed to start a little early. Oh, especially because, oh no, I can't even string escape the title. No, that's fine. We're just going to grab that, and it's not going to be right, but it's going to be right enough. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. There we go. All right. Oh my god, I fuck. Oh my god, I fuck. Let's see. Episode 83. Scanlan is 84, sorry. Scanlan is currently dying on the table. Last we checked. Which that is also, I will say, that is one of the only things that I'm like, ooh, I don't know how. Oh, right, he is dying. He's dead. He's not dying on the table. That's right. It's going to be an interesting tonal shift for me to go from Age of Umbra, where the session 0 is literally called like building characters that Matt is gonna kill, where they're like almost reveling in the fact that one to many of them are going to die. It's going to be interesting to go back to this where they are so distraught over Scanlan's death. That'll be a little interesting. It seems summer has arrived. It has indeed. Let's see. This is also, I mean, we'll see. Supposedly, it's a shorter one. What the hell is going on with my camera? Why is it like cutting off my forehead and like focusing down on my midriff? All right, there, maybe. That's better. All right, whatever. I think in AOU they're still planning on being distraught in character. Yeah, exactly. I don't think we're going to see Laura Bailey in tears if one of the characters in AOU dies. But they were all incredibly out of character distraught. Or they're very good actors. They are very good actors, but maybe I'm getting acted right now, but I think there was a decent amount of real emotion there. Let's see. All right. So yeah, the first half's only an hour and 20 minutes. But it is also, I'm assuming it's going to be low combat. It's going to be a lot of a lot of things that are maybe that there will be a lot of talking around. I also figured out what's happening with the time codes, why it's cutting off some of John's stuff, and I keep forgetting to address it before I do the destructive thing that destroys some of John's notes. But all of the time codes are always saved, which is the main thing we need. Let's see. All right, 29. Bop, 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 bop. I have never thought that they were acting at any point when not in character, except things like ad reads. Yeah. I feel that. You know what? Since we're running fucking way ahead of normal Critical Eye's schedule, so I guess before we jump into it, my impressions of the last episode. I really, really loved. In fact, I have a script. I just haven't filmed it. Will I ever actually post this video? I'm gonna make an 83 takeaway at some point, but I'll do a quick one. I'll do a tiny, teeny little baby quick one, and then we will kind of is this? Yeah, it's in my Google Docs. Yeah, there we go. I'll do a quick little baby takeaway that is mostly a summary of the longer thing that I've written out, and then I will post that at some point. Which the title of my takeaway was "When Should You Fudge in D&D?" And despite the fact that we spent a while debating whether or not that bit at the end with Kima and Allura being in the ocean, whether or not that was fudging, we did talk about the flame skulls, and it was much less divisive. And the general point of my takeaway was, I think that a reasonable person could see both of those situations as fudging. honestly, whether or not they even were, I think a reasonable conclusion could be that they were. And if they were, I support both of them very, very much. And for some, more detailed reasons in there, but broadly because both of them really served to maintain this really unique emotion and feeling that I don't want to say like objectively, it's really hard to get, or we really rarely get it in D&D. But I do think it's one of the harder emotions to access in D&D, which is like this sense of like desperation, right? Because even in the most tense situations in D&D, which are typically combat, because the main thing you have to lose in a mechanical sense in D&D is your health pool. It's not like another game where like, you can die from like stress, or not die, but get incapacitated from something like stress or stress mechanic. HP is the primary threat to your D&D character. But simultaneously, D&D combat is super duper slow. And I don't even just mean that from like a mechanical standpoint of like the feeling of going through the turns is very slow. I mean that in the sense of like they take 6-second in-game time chunks and naturally expand them to, at minimum, less than 6 seconds. If you're playing at a table that can get through a D&D combat turn in less than 6 seconds, you must be playing at a table of purely auctioneers. I think that's the only situation in which that is possible. And so, broadly, the vast majority of the tables are going through combat slower than the fiction is actually occurring, which means that the most tense situations are naturally expanded to the point where they don't necessarily lose their tension, but they acquire a very different type of tension. Like, even if a combat is tense, it is this slow, creeping tension rather than a hectic, like, what are you gonna do? You have to make a decision right now. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that feeling of I have to go fast, I have to go quick. Like, even if your DM brings out a fucking timer at the table, those timers are normally going to be, 30 seconds, a minute, right? They are still going much slower than in the fiction. So you're really, really rarely getting this sense of speed and again, desperation. Even like the equivalent, I would say, in terms of like the slow thing is you can get this sense of dread. I think that dread is a much easier emotion to access at D&D, or in D&D, and especially in D&D combat, where it's this slow decay of like the situation started out good and it's slowly slipping away from you. And that's still a great emotion. That's still something very fun to access in certain situations. But desperation is much harder, just given the setup of D&D. And so, all that said, when Matt did access it, when he did manage to really establish this dread and, as Belphegor said, panic, right? When he managed to access panic and desperation, that is an emotion that I think you should cultivate as much as possible as a DM, because in storytelling, variety is the spice of life, and the more that you can access and cultivate that sort of rare emotion, the more you're going to get a unique experience at the table. The more memorable it's going to be, the more it's going to stand out. And so fudging the flame skulls, which I think is less debatable that it was fudged, is an amazing choice. Like, making it to where they didn't even really need to roll initiative and like slow down to get through those. Beautiful. Perfect. Keeps up the panic, keeps up the desperation. The moment that they start to slow down with like the when they're like teleport trapped on Viscon, that is the moment that the Allura and Kima thing happens. And I think any way that goes, whether they stay out in the ocean, whether Keyleth finds them and then they ultimately rescue them, like, all of those situations, like all of the different permutations of how that situation could have gone down, of Kima and Allura being off in the ocean, all of them promote panic, promote desperation. Every single way that I can see that going reinforce that panicked feeling. Because even if they stay off in the ocean, like say she doesn't scry on them or she doesn't, pick them out with the nat 20 on the perception, now they know that their friends are off drowning in the ocean. Panic, desperation, we gotta go fast before they drown. And even when they did find them, putting them so far away, making them do this like broom zoom, making them do that quick fly over the ocean. Panic, desperation, speed, everything. A lot of the choices that Matt made that seemed atypical for Matt, or sometimes, maybe more typical, but maybe atypical for D&D, either way, every time I saw a deviation in that last half of the episode, every deviation seemed to bend towards that feeling of speed, that feeling of desperation, that feeling of panic. And I really liked that. I thought that was an incredibly justifiable reason because, a lot of times I promote consistency. I promote like, you teach your players and the players teach you back. I promote like, maintaining expectations so that there's not this feeling of, because D&D is such a wide game where you can kind of do whatever you want, expectations of where the lines are incredibly important. And if there was ever a time to break expectations or to go atypical on something, that's the type of reason to do it. That is exactly the time to disregard everything I've ever said about expectations and consistency and all that. That's the time. So yeah, overall, I thought it was really good. I do think I've gotten through individual rounds faster than 6 seconds in edge cases. My average is definitely longer. Yeah, I think that is the thing. It's like maybe occasionally there's a turn that takes less than 6 seconds if like I swing at them. But even that, it's like, what's their AC? What did you roll? Like it would definitely be like getting an average down to 6 seconds would be tough. Wait, did I? There we go. I need the button to hide it. If I have a simple turn and nothing fundamentally changes, yeah. And also Belphegor, yeah, the dread versus slow panic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what do you think, Mega? Will Scanlan be successfully renewed, or is he going to stay dead? Well, that's the kind of thing. That's the thing, right? I really can't say. I really can't say because of the way that resurrection works here. Even if I kind of have a little bit of a sub theory that Scanlan's soul is currently trapped on Viscon, I think they might not even be able to revive him. But like my thought is that possibly the Viscon thing that like redirected Allura or Kima, possibly. I think that possibly wasn't like a teleportation trap. It might have been like a soul trap or something like that. And, maybe like the body partially shields the soul. So that's why there's like a chance that it works or it doesn't. I don't know. This is all very vague and unformed in my head. But I think that there's a possibility that just totally prevents him. But even if that is not the case, inherently, revival magic is up to chance in this setting with Matt's revival rules. So ultimately, it will at least partially come down to a dice roll. So ultimately I can't even really know. I can't, make a real prediction on whether or not he'll be revived. I would say I think that the chance is low, weirdly. Maybe not weirdly, because this will be like his third time being revived or second. It's not his first time being resurrected. And so I think that there's a decent shot that, that lowers his odds of coming back. There's the Viscon of it all. So I think either way you slice it, he has lower than typical odds. And we will, but I can't know how that actually affects his odds, And what happens if he doesn't come back? Well, I have thought about that. And, it's, I titled the stream, how to end a D&D campaign. There is also the hanging question of, like, what are they going to do next? A lot of times a D&D campaign will have a, what people refer to as, like, the grand arc, right? The big bad evil guy, BBG. Those sorts of things are often at least foreshadowed towards the start of the campaign. If a campaign's going to have them at all. Some don't. I think Critical Role is a good example, or Vox Machina, at least campaign 1, of one that has not really had what you could think of as like the typical, maybe not even typical, but like of the grand arc. It's had the more sandboxy kind of arc to arc structure. Now, I did some theorizing before 83, I think at the start of 83, on the people that have been in the campaign, potential BBEGs, potential, campaign enders. HOTUS would seem incredibly lame to me. HOTUS would seem incredibly just too banal, frankly, to be a BBG. I think we could see Vecna. I've spoken at length about why I think that Vecna will come up before the end of the campaign, and I think Vecna would make the most sense as a BBG for what we've seen. Otherwise, it's like something with the primordials, maybe a demon devil sort of situation, because we've had, in the pre-campaign they had Jezerazel, and then they fought the Pit Fiend in the City of Brass. So I could see something where potentially HOTUS comes back, and like maybe like during the kind of in-between arc lull, and HOTUS comes back. It doesn't feel like it's been long enough for that, but we know that time management in D&D is sometimes a little bit wibbly-wobbly. So, I don't think in fiction it's been long enough, but I don't know. Who knows? So I could see a situation where he comes back, and then there's some sort of evidence from something that HOTUS says or does that there is a larger like plot from hell, from the hells or the abyss, to invade the prime material plane, because we have gotten foreshadowing of that. And I could see maybe a alliance, between the elemental planes and the hells that is, kind of winding, that has been, slightly hinted at through the campaign. I could see something like that. Or I could see Vecna. Those are pretty much it. Like, those are kind of the two ways forward I can see for the threat to have been kind of at all foreshadowed. I almost even hesitate to bring this up because I think it's so unlikely, but I guess I might as well. I could also see fucking Grimly. What was his name? But not Gimli. Artagan. Well, whatever his name was, in his satyr form. I guess Artagan. Garmelie. That's right. Garm. I don't know, man. If Artagan was the BBG, it wouldn't be as much of a letdown to me as if Hodis was the BBG. I would be very let down if Hodis was BBG. But it would be a little weird given that he has been broadly non-antagonistic and was in so few episodes, and during those episodes broadly did not seem to enact any sort of his own motivations outside of getting the hat and the stone from Singorn. And I can't really piece together a big campaign ending arc from any of the interactions with Garmelie or Artagan. So it's possible. Artagan, unlike Hodis, at least seems to have the power to be a justifiable BBG and like has a bit of the mystique. It seems like he is either an archfey or some sort of, he is some sort of being of power. But he's just been in so little that it would, and there's been so little evidence of his machinations. Like, Vecna has not been in any of it, but an entire previous arc was seemingly put into motion based on motivations related to Vecna with the Briarwood arc. So at bare minimum, there is evidence of Vecna motivations, Vecna machinations that have previously had a large effect on the campaign. So it would make a lot more sense to me for Vecna than it would for Artagan. Anything else, I'm sure that there are other villains or villainous forces that have been established, but anything else would kind of come out of the blue for me. And I don't think, if you are planning to end the campaign with, this last arc, I don't think any last arc where it is like a planned end to the campaign should come out of the blue. I think if you're planning to end the game with it, it should not come out of the blue. And the reason I think that we'll start planning on ending it soon, I'll be honest, possibly, because of the episode count, but also partially because they're such high level. They're at like level like 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that area. Like, we're approaching the point to where they will like run out of levels. So I would be, if I was Matt, I would be looking at setting up a campaign ending arc right now. Because, and especially if it's going to need any amount of further development, you need to start it now because they're going to be at level 20 not too soon. Or not too long from now. So, yeah. So all that said, how do you start doing that? I think for If it is the Hells, those are kind of the two possibilities I'll consider. It is either Vecna or something to do with the Hells. We'll say an archdevil. We'll say Jezarizel. Why not? Just to give it a name. If it's Jezarizel, I actually think we might start to get something with Hodis. And I could see the episode title. The episode title of this one is Loose Ends. There's like 3 or 4 loose ends I can think of. One of them is Hodis. One of them is the tasks that they need to do for the guy in the City of Brass. One is the spinning orb of Vecna death. I actually don't remember what I thought number 4 was. Those are kind of the 3 I can think of. I don't think that the tasks in Vasselheim are really going to have anything to do with anything. I could be wrong. But, so even like the episode Loose Ends leads me towards this Jezarizel or Vecna conclusion, because those seem like the 2 loose ends to me. And so I think, and I'm hopeful, I will say, that in this episode, in 84, we will get to see how Matt goes about setting up the end of a campaign. Because I do think that loose ends are a really good lens to look at that through. Like when I talk about things being foreshadowed earlier in the campaign, from the player perspective, that foreshadowing looks like a loose end. Like that is what foreshadowing kind of looks like from just like a player POV. If you're, in like the mercenary mindset. At least, when it comes to villainous foreshadowing. So I think we are going to get something possibly with Hodis, possibly with maybe Riskel or a Vecna follower. Riskel's dead, obviously, Riskel Daxio. But I could see us getting something to do with like a former, or not a former, but a current like Cult of Vecna follower. Maybe Allura talks about how, maybe she knows of a guy that might be able to. Okay, let me give you a pitch for how I think Vecna might come up, because this is something that's kind of working through my brain right now. I could see a situation in which Scanlan's soul is trapped on Viscon. So now they need to break the necromantic curse that is holding his soul there. And Vecna, or not Vecna, and Allura's like, I know of somebody in the Arcana Panasophical that might be able to help. And so they go to recruit this, this mage or this scientist to help out with that. And I would say that they probably should find whatever the answer is to recovering Scanlan's soul there. But I think the mage is gone. The gal. The mage is gone and probably murdered. And and they find a lot of evidence of the murder. Maybe they speak with dead, or they find, Vecna writings or runes, and we get this quest hook for a Vecna plotline. Alternatively, I could also see Scanlan's death leading us into a situation where they try to resurrect him, and maybe his soul isn't trapped on Viscon, but maybe it is like being held. Maybe it's even being held by Hodis. Like I could see. Let's be very frank. Scanlan's going to hell. Like it's not. I'm sorry. He's done a lot of good. But like on a personal morality level, I can't see a lot of the good gods being like, yeah, get on in here, buddy. Man, good job. You know what? All that dragon slaying stuff, that just wipes the slate clean. Get on in there. Make sure to bring the suit. We'll all, do a few lines, That's in Fantasy High. That's if you go to Helio Heaven. That's what they say. Helio Heaven in Fantasy High, they love Scanlan there. But Not in Critical Role heaven. Raven Queen is sending Scanlan's ass to hell. So I could also see a scenario in which they are like, oh man, especially someone like Hodis, I could see them doing some sort of ritual or maybe getting some sort of vision on like where Scanlan's soul is, and they see his soul like in a cage being like fucking tortured by Hodis or some shit. I don't know. And I could see that encouraging them to go into the hells on like a Scanlan recovery mission. And possibly while we're there, they can, put Hodis to bed, get rid of that loose end. But they also might be delivered a quest hook on a broader plot that is going on with Jezrezel, going on with the Pit Fiend. I think there's a good possibility that maybe the Pit Fiend was even in the City of Brass to broker some sort of like war pact, like a joint war with all of the elemental planes, or at least the major players in the elemental planes, with the Hells to all go and attack the material plane simultaneously. Because we've had the dragons try to do it alone. We had Glabrezu, who is impersonating Jezrezel. We had Glabrezu try to go at it alone. Like, we've had multiple... Kavarn. We've had multiple planar incursions, but they were all working separately, independently. So I could see that being the thing. And that would even follow up from the Chroma Conclave of, hey, you guys, when you were able to separate and deal with the dragons individually, you could do it. But the thing that made the Chroma Conclave so dangerous was them working together, their alliance. And so the idea of a alliance between devils and elementals, I think, would be very instantly and naturally scary to the players and the characters in a way that it might not have otherwise been. Like, you might be able to use the context of the Chroma Conclave to establish this even more strongly as a big end of the campaign sort of situation. So I could really, really see that. And I could see us getting like an Oblivion style, Mehrunes Dagon invading Cyrodiil sort of situation. So I could see it kind of going one of those two ways, and Scanlan's death and soul could easily be a way to lead into those. Or you could lead into it a dozen other ways, honestly. And really, we heard the characters, or the players, I guess, already talk about the loose ends that they had to clean up. So, like, I'm pitching some ways that I think Matt could very naturally lead into things. But honestly, he doesn't even really have to. It seems like even if Scanlan gets revived, they're going to go and like want to deal with Hodis, want to deal with the spinning orb of death. It seems like there's already some inherent player motivation there. So you just have to think about like, what is the quest hook going to look like? Could I work it into Scanlan's death? Do I want to work it into Scanlan's death? Or do I want to deliver it some other way? But those are kind of the two ways I see it going. I don't see it going a ton of other ways, honestly. I would be surprised. There could always be, I always hold open when I'm theorizing the possibility that there's just something I glanced over, So we'll see. I don't know. Kaylee would get a lot of very conflicting emotions. Yeah. Yeah. But what if it was Kima all along? Somehow, I don't think it is. Put him away. No, the shoulders are out to stay. Shoulders are looking small. I need to get back to working out. I have not worked out in a long time, and it is showing. In a meta sense, how do you think CR would deal with a PC death. New character, or since you think the campaign is close to the end, is the player going to sit this one out and only come back for C2? Dude, it's tough to say. I mean, if you had asked me this before I had ever seen Critical Role, just on my, like, assumptions and, like, background knowledge of, like, what an actual play is, I would assume they're sitting out until the next campaign. Honestly. That said, with how late it is, which, yeah, you bring up, with how late it is, with the way that they have handled Pike, and with the way that they handle guest players, Critical Role seems very willing to bend the fiction in order to facilitate their friends playing at the table. To a degree that is not intuitive or natural for me. So it's hard for me to predict how they would handle it, because they will often do things that, again, are incredibly non-intuitive to me in terms of, like, how they handle Pike and Ashley. And so I truly just don't know. I can think about, I can think through how I would handle it, but I don't think the way that I would handle it, even if I wanted Sam to still be at the table, I don't think the way I would handle it is the way that they would handle it. That said, I think they would find an excuse to have Sam be somehow involved. I don't know how that would be. Maybe Scanlan is a ghost. I don't know. I think they would find a way to make him be involved. I just have no clue how that would be. Genuine question. Who in VM do you see going to hell and who gets into heaven? It depends. From my understanding, D&D cosmology is much more complicated than the binary hell and heaven. There's the hells, there's the abyss, there's, like, Mount Celestia. I think it has something to do with, like, your alignment when you die. So, like, if you're chaotic evil, Scanlan might not actually go to hell. He might go to the abyss, I think. But I really don't know. I also don't know if, like, because the Raven Queen has, like, domain over the transition of death. I don't know if that means that she has, like, some input on where you go. I mean, overall, D&D cosmology is more complicated than heaven and hell. And then second layer down from that, we know that Matt has made some changes to how the cosmology works, especially in terms of death. So I know even less of how it would be determined where they go in the afterlife. So no idea. Hey, some of us still believe in the Kima BBG. Don't give up faith. Yeah. You theorizing and providing in-depth reasons why helps me a lot in how I think about GMing. That's fair. Yeah. That's half of the reason that I like doing this show, that I like theorizing. It is rarely that I think I have, like, an explicitly better way than Matt. A lot of times it is just, this is how I would do it for my table. But I enjoy thinking through, like, why might he have done that? Why would I do it differently? And, like, the reasoning and rationale behind it. Yeah. That's, oh my gosh, it's the core ethos of the show. Oh no. Get it out of here. Or the core rationale for why I wanted to do the show. Yeah. Because we usually don't see other things that could have happened or in-depth reasoning. Yeah. Roll a new character, pick up an NPC. Could, legitimately, yeah, could be either. No idea. There is the fucking Wall of the Faithless, which should be destroyed. Yeah, I got no clue about that, yeah. I don't really see the Raven Queen like Osiris. I think she more helps the souls cross over than judge them. I think that is a very realistic way to determine it. I think I probably lean towards your interpretation as well. I think that I see her more as like the who's the ferryman? Psychopomp. Yes. I don't remember what the ferryman's name is. No, not Kronos. That's a Titan. Yes, I agree. I see her. I do see her much more as a Charon. Charon? I'm gonna go with Charon. I see her much more as a Charon, a Psychopomp, rather than a Hades or an Osiris. Rather than like a Judger. I do see her that way, although the asterisk I will put on that is that I don't think we have necessarily gotten enough information to determine it one way or the other. I think that it could be reasonably interpreted that she has at least slightly more of a directional type position. Even if she doesn't necessarily judge their actions, maybe something else judges them and then like she like directs them on their way. There could be like a broad judgment of like, oh, they fit into like broadly one of these categories, and then she handles the minutia or the details. I don't know. But anyways, I think that is enough yapping for now. Enough yapping. It's so funny. I started early, and then I easily brushed through the... We were about to start so early, and then I looked at the time, and I was like, 15 minutes in. We can't start this early. I gotta talk for a little bit. And now here we are. Let's play.
Welcome to tonight's
that's
episode
quiet.
of Critical. Fuck you, Leo. Fuck you. Welcome to tonight's episode of Critical Role, where a bunch of us nerdy ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons.
Victory!
Oh, that's gonna come back to haunt you.
You did it.
Welcome to tonight's episode. We have quite an episode tonight. We'll have.
Fuck you, Leo. I don't even know why John wanted me to see this, because there's like a conversion process that happens after John puts them in, but before you guys see them, and that is sometimes destructive. I know how to make it not destructive, I just forget. So I don't even know why John wanted me to see this, but I love that that's the part he wanted me to see. That's very funny. Let's see. All right. We are going to skip the Sam on vacation ad, but I'll see the reaction to it. That'll be fun. Let's see.
Look forward to having you back next week in one form or another. What?
That's nice.
But to finish up the details of our wonderful Loot Crate sponsorship, we have Ashley Johnson joining us, thankfully from New York. The monster herself.
Tonight's episode of Critical Role is brought to you by Loot Crate. The theme for this month is build. And the brands that are in it include Power Rangers, Batman, Lego, and Tetris. All things you can build. The promo link is lootcrate.com/criticalrole. And the promo code is Critical Role, one word, for 10% off your first month. What?
Oh man, I mean, just
Critical Role!
Woo! Critical Role! Oh, I do normally put on subtitles. That's a really good point. Dude, it's so wild seeing... It's so funny going from Age of Umbra to this, where Ashley is in person. Because I already feel like I've gotten to see so much more of Ashley playing the game as a real, full-fledged, like, totally equivalent cast member. And it's going to be very odd to go back to her being Pike. This, sometimes there, sometimes not sort of deal. That's maybe going to be one of the most, like... not off-putting off-putting, I wouldn't say, but like one of the most strange things about it. Let's see it. We're in the recap.
To get you caught up on the current events of Critical Role, the party of Vox Machina has been combating the horrible, terrible influence of the Chroma Conclave, a group of chromatic dragons that have been terrorizing the countryside of Taldore, occupying the city of Iman, Westruun, and places beyond. They've managed to kill off all the members of the Conclave leading up to Raishan, the orchestrator behind the scenes of most of the chaos that they've seen in recent months. Raishan managed to nearly destroy Vox Machina before absconding with the corpse of Thordak, apparently into the next portion of her plot. The party, upon running into an old friend, Carrick, from Westruun, who had helped in the attack on Iman, joined forces to give chase in hopes, through a decision, to head her off at the pass and prevent Raishan from seeing to fruition whatever plan she had after this leg. Through a series of very well-placed scries, you discovered that she had absconded to the island of Viskan, an old layer of Thordak, and before that, an older layer of Opash, an ancient necromancer who was banished and made that his menze. As you made your way to the island, well prepared for this, you fought through various traps and difficult challenges throughout this necromancer's sanctum, eventually coming into battle with Raishan herself. A long, hard-fought battle left Percy and Scanlan both lifeless to the ground. Percy was risen quickly. Scanlan, unfortunately, was not. And the final blow delivered a combination of both Keyleth, tearing the intellect from Raishan through a well-placed Feeble Mind spell, and Carrick, with a well-placed Warhammer blow to the head of the Green Dragon.
High five.
High five from the screen.
Just hitting him in the face.
So awkward.
No.
Deuces.
There you go. The dragon destroyed, however...
He's still here? So, like, I don't mean to be rude, but, like, when is Patrick Rothfuss leaving? Because, like, I already thought it was kind of strange for them to have a guest PC call in. But like, you know, people in chat defended it to an extent, and I, you know, I kind of got it. But like, he's already, they did the thing with Raishan. He doesn't have like a super, you know, detailed relationship with Scanlan. You know, it's not like they have fucking Will Friedle and Mary Elizabeth calling in, even though I think Zara and Cash are in Whitestone. Which, like, you know, their table, their friends, their rules. But this, a little strange to me. I don't know. Imagine how much writing he could have gotten done. Yeah, he's just a member of Vox Machina. I mean, that's, like... I understood when people defended, like, oh, he, like, started the Raishan kind of quest and, like, hunt with them. You know, it's good for him to, like, go to Viskan with them to finish it out. I was like, okay, little weird to me, but that's, you know, I understand that line of reasoning. Makes sense to me. They're done with that. Why is he still here? and also, if he was in town, they love having, you know, their guests at the table with them. Totally. I don't know. Strange.
Their friend, Scanlan, still lifeless and still growing colder as the minutes passed, picked up his body, and you fled the cavern to the outside of the island after discovering that teleportation, or at least magic of transport, had some sort of an alteration or a funkiness to it, if you will. You watched as two of your allies, Kima and Allura, were, instead of teleporting away through a circle, sent deep out into the ocean. You managed to find them through a very lucky perception roll. And at least you're able to connect your transport via plants through one of the outside trees by the beach to get you all to Whitestone. There you took Scanlan's body to the recently constructed Temple to the Raven Queen, and in preparing for this ritual, the Gatestone was taken by Vex, who, with the help of the Realm Seer Estelrine Darien, transported to Kymel, made your way through the riffraff to one of the darkened taverns there to find Kaylee, Scanlan's daughter, long estranged, rambunctious daughter, but daughter nonetheless, handed her the gatestone, and she vanished in a puff of arcane smoke, leaving you and Eskil more confused than you, within the tavern. And that is where we jump back in for the evening. So, as you guys are waiting carefully, kind of figuring out what to do in these moments, Pike, as you're kind of cleaning the area, cleaning the body, and doing the best you can to begin preparing for a ritual that you are hoping will be in the favor of you and your friends. Percy, as you hold the other end of the gatestone, you feel it begin to glow and warm in your hand, and you instinctually take a step back as within a bright flash, you watch as Keyleth, the gnomish, short-haired, rambunctious bard, stands there now near the entrance.
Dude, it's also, I'll say this before we get too far in. For all the technical improvements that they have made, which are many, and I'm getting to see during Age of Umbra, it's wild that they still broadly use the exact same, camera setup. Which, to a certain, it makes sense. To a certain degree, it makes sense. There's only so many ways to arrange people in an efficient way to where you can put them all on screen and, still have room for other things. But it's wild that for how much things have changed, it is still almost the exact same, OBS screen layout. My OBS screen layout for this show has changed, 10 times, and theirs is still almost identical. So it's very funny. I don't know why that's very, funny and interesting to me, but it is.
This way to the Raven Queen's temple, holding the other gatestone. She's clutching at her face, still kind of stoic and confused by the sudden transference. She takes it and kind of drops it to the ground.
Take that.
She found you.
Right, good to see all of you. So, is it true?
Yes. He's inside.
Let me see the bastard. She kind of pushes past and muscles through. You who've just previously begun to walk into the temple slowly, kind of taking in the gravity of the situation and whether or not you want to even step up to the plate on this. In that quiet, tense, slow but perpetual thought process that is Grog, you feel a small hand kind of grab the side of your hip and shove, though no effect. You just kind of feel a little tug as Keyleth pushes past you. Pardon me, big man. And you watch as she darts up to where Pike is currently preparing the body for the ritual. You watch as Keyleth steps up to the edge and kind of gets up onto the top of the central altar and kind of stands over quietly looking down at Scanlan's cold body. She kind of crosses her arms. He made me a promise.
I know.
You made me a promise! And she kind of leans forward, kneels down, and just slaps them across the face. Just, you made me a promise. And she gets up and kind of wipes her nose a bit and hops off and just storms.
I run after her.
She just keeps charging, not stopping, not slowing.
Wait!
You eventually get outside. You guys watch as Keyleth pushes past, and then Pike shortly thereafter. She spins around looking at you.
Dude. Speaking of ways in which me and Matt are different, like we were talking about before the episode started, and something that we talked about in reference to AOU is also making me think of this, of just Matt's character acting and NPC prominence. I oftentimes, kind of poke fun at or critique how often NPCs are traveling around with the party and they're very involved and he's having to manage them during combat. And there are a lot of gameplay mechanical reasons that may not be ideal. But even more broadly, Keyleth is walking into this scene, and boy, oh boy, if I am in Matt's position, I want anything else to be happening. Other than me having to act out this NPC. It's not because I don't like acting or I don't like character acting. That's not one of the parts of playing that I don't enjoy. I love playing a character like that. But especially in this sort of dramatic scene, I have so much trouble. NPCs are very difficult for me to juggle in my head. Like people and person. Persons, people. Personas. That's a better way to phrase it. Are very hard to like juggle and keep track of in my head. And I would be constantly stressed out that I am acting Kaylee incorrectly, like differently than I had acted her before, especially in this sort of really tense scenario where like they went and got Kaylee for a very like story and plot, I don't want to say critical, but like a plot substantial, I guess, reason. This would stress me the hell out as an NPC in a way that managing like environments just doesn't. I don't know quite how to explain it other than that. Like an environment, like when I think about like them going back to, like, let's say, you know, they go back to Westrun and I'm having to describe Westrun and give it a tone and give it a vibe. And, you know, especially in D&D, which is largely about traveling around as a group in that sort of game, they might have a lot of disparate locations, and that can be sometimes hard to manage, I think, for some DMs. And I don't know why, but it is just not for me. Not nearly as difficult, at least. Like, it is so much easier for me to keep track of the key things that I have characterized an environment with, as opposed to a character or an NPC. If I'm playing, I'm only having to juggle one character. I live that character, I breathe that character is mine, I inhabit them, and that is not difficult for me. Because I only have to worry about them. But man, all of these NPCs that Matt juggles, I just can't imagine like hopping back and forth between them. Obviously, I do it to some degree as a DM, but I really minimize the importance of friendly NPCs when I can within story beats and arcs. You know, antagonists are a little bit different, but a lot, especially allies. And that is not because I think it's bad storytelling or like bad D&D. It is purely because it stresses me out so much when I have to like run them in a really important scene like this. And so, like, watching Matt do it, I don't want to say, you know, watching him do it with ease. I don't want to make any sort of assumptions about how easy or difficult this is for him. But watching him consistently run NPCs and always having them feel distinct and identifiable is incredibly impressive to me personally, in a way that I think it might not be to other people and even to other DMs. I think there are other DMs that would find it, you know, whatever. They'd be like, oh yeah, he's good at it, but they wouldn't. I'm like, man, I could never. And I think the takeaway there is around focusing your energy as a DM. I think Matt being able to play someone like Kaylee in this incredibly tense situation that everyone is finding themselves in, him having the capability to do that as a DM is like something he should, and I think does, take advantage of. I think he really takes advantage of it. Like, I don't think that people are going to remember a lot of the details of Westrun, but they are going to remember Victor. They're going to remember Kaylee. You know? They're going to remember Allura, Gilmore. I think in a lot of my campaigns, it's the other way around. And so, we're about to run ads. I'm glad it's still on time. I thought it wouldn't be. But we'll run ads in a minute. But yeah, it's very impressive to me, and I think that it is sort of an out loud lesson to myself of not to get distracted on the things that you know are not going to like be fun for you at the table. Like this sort of scene, I would avoid like the plague. And it's like, oh, I shouldn't focus too much on maybe their like NPC relationships. Like I still should focus on that, but I don't, because this would stress me out. I don't want to put myself in a situation where this is going to be like the most natural scene for them to set up. As opposed to like going back to their homeland, going back to see like their old bedroom. Like I think I would be able to deliver on the emotions in that kind of scene. What's up? Hello, we're back. I think I made my point pretty much. I think I pretty much got there. I know you don't get to play often, but imagining it from the player's seat, would you enjoy NPCs being this prominent or dislike it? I think I think I would be good with it either way. You know, it's not a really for me. Imagining it from the player's seat and, you know, experiencing it sometimes from the player's seat, it's not necessarily a preference thing. It's not like a like or a dislike sort of deal. It is a stress or not stress. It would just stress me out more to pilot it. It has less to do with how much I would or wouldn't like it. I love incredibly defined NPCs and like actors and entities within the world. I think that I really rarely run natural disaster as or natural forces as like primary antagonists within my stories. It is almost always a sapient entity that is causing the conflict. So I think I am still attracted to like stories around, I'll say human conflict, but sapient creature conflict. Like I'm not as into something like, maybe like a zombie flick where it's like this natural thing is the enemy and maybe there are sub enemies within that. I'm not as attracted to those sorts of stories. So when it comes to like NPCs and environment I think if it didn't stress me out so much, I think NPCs would probably be more prominent in my games. But because it does, they are less. So I have to have a much more curated list that I can keep track of better. I think if Matt has said he keeps detailed notes on NPCs so he can keep his characters consistent. I mean, that's why I started recording my games, is so that I could go back and listen to how I talked and how I characterized them, and like if I had any sort of like physical mannerisms, because that's a lot of the ways that I connect back to NPCs that I haven't run in a little bit, is I try to give, at least the ones that I'm really concerned with remembering, I try to give them a physical mannerism or characteristic that I, as a human person, can physically echo. So, like, I'm thinking about, a few of the NPCs in the campaign I'm running right now. One of them is always leaned back like this, even if they are standing up, because it modifies the way that I am able to breathe. And so it changes the voice and makes sure that I am, like, at least tonally in the ballpark, but I do a big lean. Another one is always chest out, and I force my shoulders down until it's kind of uncomfortable. That's another one of the NPCs. Another one is always hunched over like this. Like, I have to tie it back to these really extreme physical characteristics to help solidify it in there. And even if it's not solidified in there, the physical characteristics they're easy to write down, and they will naturally force my tone and my intonation in certain directions. Like just changing my physicality. I've talked about this a little bit before. But like changing your physicality will naturally force your voice into like a certain pattern. And that will help keep the character and their voice and their mannerisms in at least a ballpark so that they're still recognizable. Matt may do that. I don't know that he probably needs to. Compared to me, I have to. If I don't, I will do an entirely different like voice and accent for a character 1 week to the next, because those sorts of things just don't stick in my head. And this is not just for like fictional people. This is for real people as well. I can hardly remember what people's accents sound like. It just doesn't stick in there. I don't know what it is. But yeah. It also helps he has a week to prep. He did also have a week to prep Kaylee. I will say that. I would be substantially more comfortable if this sort of thing happened, it was set up right at the end of a session, then I had a whole week to prep for it. That would make me a lot less stressed, but I would still be very stressed in the moment. The most stressed I've been lately while GMing, and I told this to my players, was when I was introducing like 5 important NPCs all at once during like a big meeting that they would all be at. That was difficult for me. And like trying to characterize them so extremely that they like stuck in the players' memories. That's tough. I think I would like it if it gave me something to RP with or entertain me. It depends on the DM's skill with making good characters. Yeah, skill is a whole other aspect to this conversation that I'm not even gonna touch on right now. Because yeah, the GM's skill at making things, I think, is skill in skill in creation, drive to create, preference for experiencing the creation, and stress at piloting the creation, or like ease of piloting. Those are like all 4 somewhat independent factors for like anything, any aspect of GMing is like, yeah. How good are you at making it? How much do you want to make it? How much do you like running it? And how difficult is it for you to run? Totally separate. Maybe not totally separate, but largely separate. Yeah. And he also runs weekly. Weekly is helpful for the memory. That's true. I imagine that's why it's so good to co-DM. I won't say that co-DM, how do I say this? I don't want to sound negative on co-DMing. I've tried it several times. I do not think that the juice is worth the squeeze. Like, I don't think it's a net positive, unfortunately. At least for me. I did try it mostly when I was younger, so possibly it would be better now. But I have not found a way to set up multiple DMs on a single game in a way that I thought was a net good and a net positive. I am not only do I think it can be done, I know it can be done. I know it can. And it used to actually bug me that I couldn't figure out how to do it for myself. But I've largely, I don't want to say I've totally given up, but I've largely given up on trying to make it work for me. But I think it can work for other people. And I think that you have identified one of the benefits to having multiple DMs DMing the same game. I just don't know. Yeah. I just don't know that it's worth it. For me, at least. So you stressed about the Council of Elrond? That's a Lord of the Rings reference? I think. And I have not watched Lord of the Rings in recent enough memory to get it.
You can see her fists kind of clenched at her sides. Face still dry, but you can see the water just slightly, barely keeping back in her eyes. She goes, what?
Listen, I know how angry you are. But we need you here today, so he can at least have more of a chance to be the father that you've always wanted him to be.
Those days have passed, I'm afraid.
You have no idea how much he loves you.
Oh, he's loved a lot of girls in his days. That I'm certain.
That may be true, but not as much as you.
We'll get on with it then. I figure at the very least we can go about our business when this is over. Clear conscience and all that. How much time do you need?
As long as it takes.
Well, have we time for a drink?
Yes.
I'm gonna get a drink. And she just kind of walks back into Whitestone.
Am I still in there?
You're still in there right now by yourself, as Pike just pushed past you, and you just have Scanlan alone on the altar.
Can I go over to him?
Mm-hmm.
Does he look the same?
He looks the same, just paler. He's been cleaned, so the rest of you are a mess still. But
dude. This is going to be a tough one. Thank you, Delphi. Dude, I mean, Travis Willingham, the absolute GOAT. That is... Unless you have seen someone that looks different after they died, I don't know if that question hits as hard. But I have seen a lot of people after they've died, and I decided when I was very young that I wanted to be cremated at the very least, because it is so difficult, especially depending on how they died, to see what is left. And I mentioned it during the session 0 for Age of Umbra, how it was interesting to me that so many people tagged Travis as the best at creative improv. And I think that, unfortunately, and even especially having thought about that and then watching this with that thought in mind, I do think that a lot of times Grog the character holds Travis back. And that's not to say that he shouldn't be playing Grog by any stretch of the imagination. I think Grog is an incredible character and has added a lot to this campaign. But I do think that the intelligence, and especially the way that this table interprets his intelligence, really holds back the character sometimes, or really holds back Travis's creative improv sometimes. And but sometimes it pokes through like that, man. It's wild. Yeah. Tradition in the US is open casket. I can't speak for the entire US, but at least within the circles that I was in when I was younger, which, were largely religious Catholic, and it's very common in Catholic to be open casket. And I don't. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough stream. Or not a tough stream, a tough episode to watch. Because I'm not even quite sure how I want to talk about it. And I'm not like I feeling pressured to talk about it. There are things that I would like to talk about, but I'm not sure how to phrase them in a way that isn't a huge bummer. But without going into too much depth, yeah, I had a friend in high school that died in a car crash, and his family insisted on having an open casket funeral, and it's the first time I can remember being so angry that I couldn't I let go of social decorum a little bit. And I had to leave the funeral during the middle of it because I was so upset that they would display his body in the way that they did. I thought it was incredibly morbid and macabre. And I did not want to say anything because it's his family. That it's ultimately up to them and up to, whatever they thought his wishes would have been. But it was very hard to see that. And I don't know, that question from Travis or from Grog, I should say, is so, I don't know. I don't want to put too much intention on it because it could have accidentally struck a chord. It's super possible that Travis did not mean it to be that deep or that intentional. But whatever his intention was, it strikes me incredibly right there. Yeah. Having an open casting feels kind of intrusive for the deceased's loved ones. Yeah. It's I don't know that it's something that I can give an analysis of. It's something incredibly personal in how you view it, and I do ultimately think that it should be up to the loved ones in however they choose or want to do that. But yeah, that was tough. And then it comes right back to back after, and I also will be a little bit vague here, but I'm sure you'll be able to imply of that line from Matt as Kaylee, of like, Pike saying he want, like, give him a chance to be a good dad, give him a chance to be a father, and her saying like those days are gone, and feeling very conflicted about wanting something or someone that is somewhat hard to that is impossible to get. Even if Kaylee and Scanlan had a deeper or were able to increase the depth of their relationship after this, it would never be what it could have been. Right, there is no way to get that back. It's gone, it's done. Once you're an adult, once you're out of the house, there's like a fundamental, kind of change that happens in that relationship, and whatever relationship you formed beforehand, in Scanlan's case, none, that puts I don't know how to say it other than like cap. It puts like a cap on what is possible afterward. Yeah, man, this is gonna be a tough one. Travis has talked about how he lost his father when he was a teenager, and it deeply impacted him. So I feel like his question was very intentional. Okay, I rarely want to assume intentionality, but it obviously I paused it, and I am clearly feeling some sort of way about it. And so yeah, I like I said, I don't want to assume intentionality, but it does feel it felt intentional, and it was very impactful. I really doubt, anyone from Critical Role is watching this, but man, yeah. I don't know. I guess if Travis ever does see it, I felt it, and it was impactful to me. Yeah. It's also beautifully put in a very Grog way. Absolutely. I think that is almost why it doesn't feel like Travis saying it. Like, if it had felt out of character for Grog, if it had and this is why I think is one of the troubles with Grog, is that it's hard to have impactful roleplay if you are breaking immersion at the same time. And so I think that is one of the reasons that Grog, in my estimation at least, seems to hamper Travis a little bit in this campaign. But when he figures it out, man, when he sees the opportunity and nails it like that, it really hits. Yeah.
But it's clean. His hair's pulled back and brushed a bit. I think it's part of the preparation for the ritual. His clothes still tattered.
No. I'm good, Belphegor. I'm good. I'm not. My hesitation is not in terms of what I am showing on camera. To be very clear, I am a pretty open book. So none of my hesitation here. I want to make this clear to everyone. Any amount of hesitation that you're sensing from me right now, because there is some, is not in terms of me like showing something on camera or performing on camera. I'll break down into tears on camera. I'm cool with that. that is not a problem for me or a hesitation from me. My hesitation is around sharing something or putting something in some sort of way as to proc conversation from chat that could be unmanageable for me. Like that I might not have the skills or the experience to like properly moderate in a way that keeps the stream and the stream chat like I don't want to say a good experience because this is just going to be a sad episode, but like an experience that doesn't make people wish they weren't here, right? That's the only amount of hesitation that I feel is in making I mean, someone might just get uncomfortable and that's just how it is, unfortunately, but I want to make sure that I'm like keeping it at least a somewhat comfortable experience. Yeah. But no, if I'm feeling some sort of way, I am not shy about expressing that on camera. Anyone in chat does get uncomfortable can leave the stream. Absolutely. Yeah. If you do get uncomfortable, no shame in leaving, you know, maybe watching the VOD later. Absolutely no. Cause you know, it's hard with this show. I can't really give like any manner of trigger warning, unfortunately, or like content warning. But I think this one seems pretty clearly like it's going to deal with maybe some maybe more intense feelings of, you know, parent-child relationships, death, and if that is, you know, I'm gonna watch it, and there's absolutely no shame in watching this in a different manner or not at all. I don't think that there will obviously be like some plot critical stuff, but it will be recapped in the next one. Yeah, no shame. Yeah.
From previous battles, but
Can I reach out and put my hand on his chest? Do I feel anything?
nothing. It's cold to the touch. He's been gone for a while now, and there's a very little difference between the touch of the stone he's on and the chest, other than the fleshy texture.
This is not over. It can't be. We've done so much, and we have so much more to do, right? This is not over. Right, don't you move. Go ahead and get your shut eye, and we'll be back. You rest here. Try not to have too much fun without us. And I'll leave.
Okay. So, as Pike go in and finish the preparations for the ritual, and the ritual itself is an hour long once the spell is engaged, but you're just cleansing the temple, some of the leaves that are blown in, the general must that has happened from not being kept in your journeys here. You've cleaned it up. What's everybody else doing in this meantime?
I'm just an assistant.
Okay, so you're helping her with the temple.
Same.
Okay.
Organizing, getting any materials that we need.
Okay, Carrot?
I'm kind of like keeping my distance, but watching what it is that they're getting ready to do here. Like, halfway between, like, kind of disbelief and wanting to see how somebody else runs their priestly, this is kind of like a professional interest. Like, what is this guy doing to appease the Raven Queen this way?
Alrighty. You finish preparations. Keyleth hasn't returned at that moment. About 10 minutes more pass, and you hear small footsteps begin to make their way to the outside of the temple. They're stepping through, a little wobbly, but a stoic, stone-faced Keyleth. Her hair kind of damp and slicked back with her fingers as she comes through. All right. let's get it over with. You can just smell the alcohol. She kind of stumbles up to the temple, puts her hands on the altar. So do your thing.
Hold on. Look at me.
She turns around and looks up at you as she is practically just past your thigh.
That's so funny. I'd never realized it before. You look so much like him.
Well, be careful. I'm at the right height to be juggling you.
I'd expect no less.
She kind of lingers on your eye contact for a second, kind of gives a nod, and then she gives you a tap and turns back around, puts her hands on the altar.
Right.
Okay. I guess we'll go ahead and get started.
So as Pike takes her holy symbol out and begins preparing and burning the incense, you, conscious of the fact that while you are a follower of Saren Ray, you are in the space of the Raven Queen, you take heed to make sure that the symbols you prepare as part of the ritual are a union of the symbols of redemption, which call to your divine nature, and the cycle of life that are indicative of the Raven Queen's spheres of both fate and passing. And you orchestrate them in a way that is synergistic so that there is a definitive intent to not let this lifeline sever. As you finish the completion of these various symbols and glyphs, spreading the salts across with each line that's drawn, you then begin to gather everybody around the altar itself, closing the doors behind you. For this, you pull out the diamond component of this resurrection ritual, which, if you want to mark off within your gear, either if you have a diamond worth 1,000 gold, or just mark 1,000 gold off of the.
There's the diamond.
So here. At which point you take the diamond and place it over Scanlan's chest, and you begin uttering the incantation, and what begins as a small whisper begins to echo, and you hear the source of the voice from Pike, but within a minute it's almost like the voice is sourceless. It begins to fill the room. It seeps from every corner. You hear Pike from all sides, and the more she begins to chant, the more you hear this very faint chorus begin to join in, a harmonizing voice, a secondary harmonizing voice, and you are familiar with this. This is the initiation of the ritual. This is the reaching out to the soul, to the bond, the thread that maintains the connection of the spirit to the prime material plane. Now, who would like to make a contribution to the ritual?
I'll go. I step up and I take my Titan Stone knuckles off. I take the belted dwarven kind off. I wrap it around the knuckles and I lay it next to Scanlan. And I say, you've been with me through so much. I pride myself on my strength, but as we fought Earthbreaker Groom, you were there by my side, as I learned that my true strength comes from my friends. Which means that these trinkets, no matter how strong they are, mean nothing. You knew me before them, and I would hope you would know me after. And while my best buddy Pike taught me to love, you taught me to laugh. And I don't want to know what life is like without that. And the last thing I'd say is, Saint, you spent so many times inspiring me. I'd like to take a page from your book, and to the tune of the Washington Redskins fight song, sing, Hail to Scanlan Shortholt, hail to victory. No one can make me laugh faster. Please bring him back to me.
Go ahead and make a persuasion check with advantage.
Before we hear the result, there's a lot. I don't remember how long ago it was. But I believe we were discussing character arcs, and I believe Percy's character arc and like what he had learned and how, you know, I've talked about flaws not being real flaws unless they're acted out, unless they're interacted with. And I think the same thing about character arcs and character growth. And it's hard to pin down the exact moments or the exact ways in which Percy has grown. You know, he grew beyond his hunt and his hunt and his need for revenge on the Briarwoods specifically, but you know, sometimes it's hard to pin down the exact like moments of growth and what exactly has changed. And I thought something similar about Grog. Even though I loved Grog's character arc, I loved I loved Craven Edge, and I loved the way that it ended. I don't think we often had a chance to see Grog prioritizing this, you know, because I do think, you know, this is the ultimate kind of ethos that he took away at the end. But then they were in the middle of a hunt for magical items. It's not the easiest thing in the world to act out this aspect of character growth when you're on a vestige hunt. And when he first took off the belt and the Titanstone knuckles, my initial reaction was kind of like, meh, I don't know. But then it's perfect. It's a perfect. I don't know that, you know, Matt was trying to set this up as an opportunity, but it's the perfect opportunity and the perfect execution of Grog's growth as a character. Like I think there can be zero doubt that Grog has grown. I think you could honestly have a little bit of doubt about Percy. I tend to think that he has generally, but I could see you having a tiny bit of doubt about like how much has he grown, in what exact ways has he grown. I at least from, you know, the stated kind of conflict of Grog's arc, I think there can be absolutely zero, especially given the connection of the Titanstone knuckles back to Kevdak. And like the fact that those were not just a vestige, those were a vestige that were deeply connected to him. Oh, I'm not even gonna highlight it, but I'm very sorry for you, Ross. Yeah, that's very tough. I'm very sorry to hear that. This is gonna be a tough one. Yeah. I hope that we can all feel these together. And the other thing that I was going to say about the stream, or not about the stream, about the scene, and a little bit of a. I know you remember I found you when we first went to the hospital. Really? I didn't. I I don't remember a lot of things. So it is not just you, but yeah, that is I didn't realize. That's yeah. I hope to be some relief or some commiseration at the very least. And this is one of the places that I think that D&D can sometimes struggle. And it's also a good example of why, I talk about raw sometimes or rye, rules as intended. And homebrew rules and sticking to them and etc. But at a certain point, it does feel like I sometimes don't know what you do as a DM. And I tend to opt for no roll. That if someone makes this sort of petition, it's very hard for me to feel like it is right to just give them advantage. I think advantage is an amazing mechanic. And I think a lot of times it feels really good. But this is one of those times where I'm like, that's it, man. That's it. One of the best, I will go on record on this. One of the best moments of character work I think I've seen in the entire campaign. Not because it is poignant. It is great in context. It's amazing out of context. It's like it works on every level that I think you can evaluate character work on. And to just result in advantage is so tough. And I said it, normally I would just I would just say, hey, it works. No roll needed. But that is one of the complicating factors with Matt's resurrection system and the contributions and the fact that there are multiple contributions. I think I've gone back and forth on Matt's resurrection system a lot. I've had different problems with it at different times, but I've really liked it overall and in other times. And I do think that possibly, I think that because it's really hard to just give him automatic success here. I think Matt could do it, but it's really it's this weird scenario of you having to judge people's heartfelt character work on a scale of, because let's be real, Matt's never going to give disadvantage here. That'd be crazy. So really, you are judging their character work here on a scale of normal to advantage. And only having those two options for something like this, that's tough. And if you do like the auto success and then you don't give anyone else auto success, that's a bit of a value judgment on their, again, heartfelt character work, because I believe that everyone who gets involved here is going to be speaking straight from the heart. And the only thing I can think of in the moment, and I'm not even sure if this is the right way to go, but the only thing I can really think of is if you have a like contribution type thing, making the contribution to the ritual, have it be one. Have it be one check. As many people can contribute as part of the check as they want. But I think that separating it out into separate checks, and I don't know if I've said this before. I can't remember or recall. But right now in this moment, it would be very hard for me as a GM to levy that sort of value judgment on your roleplay was better than your roleplay. I think I'd rather have, because ultimately it all does feed one check. So I'd kind of rather the contributions, I think, be a singular check that everyone contributes toward, and maybe you get advantage, maybe it's normal, or with something like this, the entire group's contributions, because of everyone's character work, that is just an auto success. Because this... I don't know. I think they are cool at the table. I'm not. I don't want to make any sort of implications about what any of them might be feeling. But I can't imagine looking at a player in the eye after that and being like, "Here's advantage," after possibly the best character work that anyone's done yet. Yeah, that's tough. It has 100% helped. I'm glad. I'm really glad, Russ. Yeah. Bleem has a quote, sometimes a player gives you a natural 20 without having to roll. Absolutely. And I'm a player that does not really go with like skill crits or whatever, but this is, yeah. It's if there's a roll, there is an implication of failure. And I cannot picture how this could fail. Because this is a role to influence the final role, right? This isn't the role to determine whether or not Scanlan's soul returns, which I like. I really like that part of this, I think. I don't know. But I think I do. And I can't imagine a version of chaos or randomness where that interaction does not succeed in modifying and influencing the final role. You know what I'm saying? So it just... But this is not a huge critique that I'm leveling at Matt here. Really? I think this is one of the, advantage, disadvantage are a huge strength of D&D, but this is one of the times where I think they fall flat on their face. Flat on their face. If it was more common to give writers, give this a fucking plus 20. If that was more common, but just giving advantages. So again, I don't blame him. I don't blame him, but I've never felt the weakness of advantage disadvantage as much as I'm feeling it right now. Yeah. Using it for something as breathtaking as this common is wrong. Yeah. Advantage and disadvantage, they can be used everywhere and they broadly feel great. They're really flexible, but this is, yeah. We only have those scenes because of the mechanic, but it's hard to use that mechanic to measure like in character love. Yeah. I think if Grog was to fail the roll, it would not impact the DC of the final roll, but if he succeeded, it would lower the DC. I think you're right, Tiny Monkey, but I think it feels difficult for me to imagine, because the role implies that there's something he could have said that would have succeeded in lowering it, right? That's like, it's why we roll. And the reason I say that it's like, man, I would just not even have him roll is because I can't imagine a scenario in which that, if it is possible to influence the DC, how that doesn't. But I unplugged my headphones. But it's, you know. Yeah. Man. Let's keep watching.
$14.
Okay. As Grog steps away, you watch as the circular glyph pattern of the ritual around you, a portion of it lights up. The first contribution being presented. Who wishes to take the next presentation?
Who
I have a couple things to say, but I know I'm already.
Okay.
Well, I reach in my pocket and I pull out a little doll, and Scanlan, I don't know if you remember this, but you gave this to me, and it's a little doll of you, which is very appropriate. But when I died, this saved my life because you gave it to me, and I didn't know that you would put healing words in it. And it saved me, and I hope that today I can return the favor. I'll place that next to him. I prepared a poem. I don't have it memorized, so hold on. Okay. Here lies Scanlan the Bard, a gnome who sang soft but died hard. To anyone who hears us, both far and wide, bring us back our dirty friend at least one more time. He may not be tall or brute or rough. He may be little, but his heart is buff. We are a party, and every party needs a clown. Without our friend to rein us in, we'll burn down your whole fucking town. You see, I love this gnome very much. He's small like me, but he's touched. He's raided and slain. He's pooped while he sang. But if he's gone forever, I won't be the same. Now that he's learned he's a dad, the journey that all of us had cannot be in vain, will not be in waste. Please, Scanlan, open your eyes and see your daughter's face.
I'd say go ahead and make a performance check with advantage.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. This is a lot of emotions. It is working out the ability to use, which is another key failure in the ritual logic. Yeah, it is very like... I can't remember what opinions I have had about the contribution aspect. I know I've had opinions, but I don't know if these, differ or not. I think, yeah, get rid of the ability part of it. Make it a D20 roll still, if you want to have it be a roll. But this is also from a separate perspective of not talking about the ritual mechanics specifically of the, how do I say it? This is also very complicated to me because don't know exactly how to phrase it. Scanlan's character, maybe beyond Tiberius, is the one that not Scanlan's character. Well, yeah, no. Scanlan's character, his character of self, right? Scanlan is the one that I have had the most negative opinion of the most consistently. And it is very conflicting for me in some ways. He's gotten so substantially better, but in other ways, he hasn't changed. And in some ways, he's gotten worse in some areas. And I'm torn because this is the most emotionally invested I have been in a resurrection so far. And I truly think it is because it is the resurrection that has had a ritual. Like, there have been other resurrections where we didn't do the whole ritual sequence. It's the ritual sequence where I thought that the death was the most acceptable. So I didn't have this overriding layer of film on top of it of, well, they shouldn't be doing this anyways. Which was the case for Vex's first death, and for Travis's, or not Travis, Grog's first death. So I don't have that overriding layer on top of it, and so I think it's the one I'm the most naturally invested in, but it's the one for the character that I am the least invested in. Or not even the most least invested in. Frankly, I'm the least confident that we will see any amount of growth in these final episodes. And so it's hard for me when they are saying, like, there's so much more to do. You know, you have to look your daughter in the eyes again. And it's very complicated, feelings-wise, when the things that he does are drugs and put people in danger. And he has to look his daughter in the eyes, who barely wants to see him. And who and with whom I am not I'm like 50-50 on whether or not he even wants to attempt to repair that relationship, at least in a way that we will see on camera. And that's partially because it is a D&D show. And that sort of repairs and those sorts of reparations have to be done consistently over time, and frankly in a lot of boring ways that do not make for very good telly. So I don't know. It's hard for me. I don't think many people would disagree. He's my favorite character. Yeah. He walks that difficult balance of A, he's a good person at his core, but B, he's also very flawed. That, and, you know, obviously good person is subjective. I don't feel 100% confident that he is. Just based on his exterior actions. And so...
Ads incoming. Take cover.
Ads incoming. So that I think that that's maybe a good way to sum it up on why I am so conflicted right now, is because at this point I'm not convinced. If I knew someone like Scanlan in real life and I'd only seen what I've seen of Scanlan, whatever analog that is to real life, and you asked me, are they a good person? The most I could say is maybe. I'm not sure. Which is not where I'm at with basically any other character. Basically any other character, I feel as though I can be much more confident that they're at least a version of a good person. Ooh, what's up? Hello. I realized a better way to put it while I was in the bathroom. I always get clarity when I piss. I think I realized when I talk about being conflicted about this is I'm not conflicted about it in terms of a story that I'm watching. The person that I identify with the most in this scene is Keyleth. In terms of the relationships and everything that everyone is feeling currently. And I am imagining me in her place, hearing all of these people say these things about Scanlan. And the very conflicting feelings I would feel. And I think those are the conflicting feelings that I feel. And, you know, I mentioned I mentioned character growth and what we will or won't see on camera, and how I'm less confident that we'll see maybe some of the boring stuff. And that's all still true. That's all still true. But I also think about the skepticism that I would feel if I was Kaylee. You know, and that puts a more complicated veneer on all of their words of like hearing people talk about how great your absentee father is and all the great things that he still has to do, that you are skeptical he would take the time and effort to do with you. It would put a little bit more of a negative sheen on the whole situation. And I don't say that, you know, I think that is one of that's why I said that this is going to be a tough episode. Part of the reason is because, you know, I'm trying, or not trying necessarily, but I think that part of me is sticking in media analysis mode. But there is a separate part of me that is invested in the scene and is imagining myself in the scene. And the person that I relate with is probably the person that unambiguously, or probably the person that desires the least for Scanlan to come back out of everyone in the room. And that is absolutely affecting my analysis of the situation. And and that's that.
Okay, that's good. That's great. I just rolled a natural 20. No. Oh, man. Okay.
All right. As you finish the poem you wrote and step back, the second of the three portions of the circle comes aglow, and you realize as she was speaking this poem, the chanting that she had begun has just continued without her. Like, as the spell ritual continues, the chanting seems to have been taken and echoed by the actual essence of the spell. As she stepped out of the incantation, it continued on its own. It continues to swell stronger and stronger. At this point, as you step back, there's a flash of movement at the edge of the altar, and with a double clack of her shoes, you watch Kaylee land her flip onto the top of the altar, stand up straight, wobble for a second and catch her. She pulls out her fiddle.
Wait. I just take her wrist. It's no small thing to have a father who loves you. And I cast lay on hands and clear her mind of the alcohol.
Her instinct is to pull away as you grasp her wrist, as it is instinct of any man who tries to lay a hand on her. And in the moment, she fights the instinct, and as the healing energy kind of just swells through her arm, or she closes her eyes, and for the first time since she arrived, you watch as the tears that she had kept at bay blink down her cheek, finally. She reaches over and kind of just taps your hand twice with her bow. And still not making eye contact with you, but just nods. And begins to play a beautiful, soft, sad violin piece that begins to swell faster and faster and faster and transition from a mournful piece of remembrance into a lively, jovial fiddle piece. The music begins to pick up and she begins to dance, her feet clacking across the top of the altar. And the juxtaposition of the energy and the emotion of the room towards this strange rush of energy and liveliness is awkward at first and then a welcome, and you can't help but in spite of yourself smile as the sound fills the room. As she goes faster and faster and faster, her feet clacking faster and faster across the stonework on the top. She brings it to a giant crescendo and finishes with a flourish, the bow outside. She puts her head up and you see the tears shoot down her face, no smile, just a stoned expression, and she gives a bow. It's a performance check on that. The third and final portion of the ritual begins to swell. As the magic crescendos, we take into account the final roll.
What is that? What is the thing?
And I'm going to post this right now.
Oh.
And I assure you guys, this is what got rolled. As the divine energies of the ritual swell, you watch as the energy kind of shoots across, stepping into the diamond that's still on his chest. You watch as the divine powers, the diamond swells with bright energy before shattering into a diamond dust across his chest, across the altar, clattering into the ground, like a glittering handful of sand just tossed across his body. The glyphs fade and go cold. The light of the room descends into the same low-lit candle light that you presented to the ritual pipe. A moment passes. Another moment passes. Another moment passes. And eyes still closed, he watches a small smile curls across Galen's face, and his chest rises and falls and rises and falls. As the relief spreads throughout the room, Kaylee walks up. Wipe that smile off your face. We're gonna have a talk, and slaps his face the other way. Jumps off the altar, slams out the two doors to the front, and kind of staggers out of the temple into the outside. Scanlan still lays unconscious, but breathing. I rolled a natural fucking 20, by the way, guys. On that final roll.
Did you really?
No
It's right there.
way.
I haven't touched it since it landed.
Those two natural 20s.
Two
Natural 20s.
Yeah, it's 14 for Kaylee's performance.
You know
roll,
it?
20.
Holy
The fates just wanted Scanlan to come back.
It's true. And he was all poo-pooing on the dice.
I know.
There was, I mean, with the DC increase, because he was at a 12, I missed at 13 last week, he was at a 12, and we had 2 successes and 1 failure. That brought it to a 13, 10 to a 7. So we had a 1 through a 6 and he would have been.
Oh, God. That responsibility is so scary.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. One point of damage and he's dead. He's dead again. Kaylee killed him. Yeah. Strawberry, if you wanna post that link in the in the no spoilers area of the Discord, or I don't know if you guys can post links in chat, or if only I can. Links in YouTube chat are strange, but at the very least, it'll be in the Discord. I don't know if they're keeping him unconscious because Sam Riegel is not there. I believe Sam Riegel isn't here for this episode. I feel like that was the thing that they said last week. Either way, I like the choice of keeping him asleep.
As you all take in the moment, it appears that Scanlan's spirit has returned to the body.
Anybody want to wake him up?
No. I don't think so, not yet.
Keyleth actually goes up and just does a simple medicine check just to see what's up with him.
Go for it. Go noticed.
18.
Okay. He is alive and he's breathing. His body has been ravaged by the experience and the trauma of death. His body's been ravaged by the trauma of the resurrection. He is borderline comatose right now. You've seen trauma have this impact on bodies before. It could be minutes, hours, days, who knows. But with the right treatment, usually people recover. It's not like, heavy skull trauma-induced coma. It's just the physical exhaustion of the experience. So there may or may not be something you could do at the moment to rouse him from his slumber. But Scanlan lives.
He needs his rest. Percy, can we station some of the best sages and doctors on him to watch over him?
Can we take him to the castle, I suppose, at this point?
Yeah.
He'll be taken care of.
Do you mind if I carry him?
Of course.
I'll pick him up.
Okay. He's warmer now.
That's better.
He's also drooling a little bit and may have wet himself a second time.
That's more like it. Yeah, that's appropriate.
But he's warmer.
Everyone, he may have pissed himself. Just remind him later.
It happens.
More things change.
All right, as you guys begin to step outside, Carrick's, you're there at the door after Kaylee charged out. Keem and Allura, who were just kind of waiting outside, respectfully, are kind of engaged. But you watch this as Keem immediately kind of pushes up. Is he?
He'll be fine.
And you were worried. So dumb. Allura kind of steps behind her and kind of puts her hands on Keem's shoulder. Goes, well, that's good news. Take care of him. We'll probably return to Iman and help helm the remainder of the cleaning and situation of Iman, gather the dead to see who we still have alive, and come back soon with an idea of what we have to rebuild.
Can I do an insight check?
Sure.
She seems worried. Something wrong? 26.
26.
Oh.
So Loot Crate.
So building, huh?
Building. It's such a cool thing what they have this month. If you love Power Rangers and Legos, I love Legos.
Man, these loot crates are great.
Can't do it like Sam.
You've never got one.
Who can though?
Hey, everybody, Scanlan's still in the game.
Oh no. Oh no, I fucked it up. 1 second. if I run two of the scripts if I like run a single script at the same time, it gets confused and then like mutes it and pauses it and does all sorts of shit. Well, that was certainly the resurrection ritual I've been the most invested in. Easily, bar none. Not even close. Not even close. Definitely confirming that I like the resurrection mechanic when I feel like the death made sense. Oh, man. That was not even Percy. You know, Percy was weird because I was focused. This isn't exactly a bad thing, but, you know, it's the reason that I don't think I was as invested, is I was too focused on the lore implications of him getting eaten inside of Animus. So, you didn't want Percy to come back, did I not? I will say, I think it would have been a narratively satisfying place for his story to have ended. But I don't think I'm upset that Percy came back. It was a satisfying death. Yeah. It was a satisfying death. That was the thing. And you know, that's why I think that's part of the reason that his spirit seemed to be debating it, because it was pretty satisfying. But yeah, I think I wasn't as invested because I was thinking too much about Smokey and Animus and all that. This one, the lore is separated enough that I was just focusing on the death and whether or not he would come back. Yeah. Yeah, they're mostly non-events in my head. The Vex one especially, because yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's also... Yeah, I definitely have personal relationships and feelings that affect this one specifically, especially them, involving Kaylee so heavily. I don't know how to play the fiddle though, so that would have been. I guess that's a part where we diverged.
Do you have to leave immediately? You seem tired. We've all been through a lot. You should rest today.
We'll have to rest before we can, find our way back to Amon quicker, but sooner the better. We did kind of leave the city in a vacuum of leadership, depending on who survived the conflict there. And I just want to make sure that we have whatever remains of the council there to put the pieces back together and count the dead. Make sure that we don't leave a vacuum of power, so another Thor-Dak-like entity can sweep in and lead us back on the dark path.
Let us know if you need our assistance.
I shall. I, for one, need to get clean. Just kind of taps Key on his shoulders and he's like, me too. And they both kind of walk up towards the castle. What do you guys want to do?
I'm going to go back to the castle, sit down, take this off, and I think sleep for a long while.
Well, yeah, what time of day is it?
At this time, the arrival here, it's...
Yeah, this is very interesting. Getting more into the, what will they do next? I don't know what they're going to do next. This is the first time where they have been not nearly as time pressed in a long while. And I've talked a lot about how transitioning between different arcs and how to connect things. I think this is a situation where if I am Matt, they have enough that they still need to do. We went through them at the beginning. It's like the City of Brass guy, the Ball, HOTUS. It's like they've got tasks and things to look into. And this is the first time that they can actually rest after the majority of the campaign long arc. And they don't have a huge timer on them. And I've also talked about a lot of timers, a lot of pressures, keeping the pace up, keeping your players moving. I also think that if you never let them rest, the pressure, like you need highs and lows, you know what I'm saying? If you want to create a feeling of pressure, a feeling that they need to move, you also have to have times where they don't need to move. And so I think as like Matt, I've talked about like how much I loved Winter's Crest and Whitestone, having the festival, all of these sorts of things for them to do, things for them to experience. Role play resting, where I give them, a little mini quest that is very low stakes, a little mini dungeon. My instincts here, at least, and I can't speak to whether this would exactly work, but my instincts here are do not directly introduce everything. Let them drive the bus. Let them drive the bus. Let them do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. We're finally out of the Chroma Conclave arc. Not every, but most of the critique that I have had around them resting or them fucking around or like Matt not giving them enough direction is all within the context that there's a dragon in Amon. You know what I'm saying? It was all under the context that Thordak and the Chroma Conclave are there and they're getting theoretically worse. But now, for the first time in like a year of my life and a long time in their life, for the first time in a long while, they I think that any amount of timers or any amount of pressure that is on them is basically negligible compared to the pressures that they were under or that they should have been under. So I think this is a time to fully let off the gas. Let them, like I said, drive the bus. Let them determine what they want to go and do. Purely on them. Let them do whatever they want. Yeah.
Pushing past sunset, I'm pretty sure. Or if not, it's probably like early night at this time of the hour for the ritual, so.
Where are we dropping off the urine-smelling one?
We'll take him to his room. I'll make sure that someone cleans him up, dresses him, puts his things away.
All right.
You're welcome to take him to his room.
I'll do that.
I'll go. I'm going to go with Grog and Scanlan.
Okay, Carrot?
I'd probably just like drift along in everyone's wake at this point.
Okay. Just kind of staggering behind a bit, kind of just ruminating on the current events. Vex, you are still back at Kymel with Eskel Rindarian, who has come back with drinks and is like,
So, what business have you here to drag me this far out of town?
I thought you were grabbing room, Eskel. Aren't you tired? So tired.
Well, I suppose.
We probably need our sleep, right? So that we can recharge those spells of yours as soon as possible.
I just want you to know I'm not interested.
Oh, are you sure, darling? You're so attractive to
I
me.
understand that, and I've had my heyday, but those years are long past me now.
Well, you better get to bed before I jump on you.
He seems legitimately really disturbed and walks away.
I sit down next to Dr. Drenzel.
Okay. He's actually like half passed out now in the back corner. He wasn't there for the whole exchange with Kaylee. His hat's kind of pushed over his eyes, and he has an empty taker there in his one hand. You don't see where his other hand is. And you sit down.
I look to see where his other hand is.
You glance under the table, and you come right face to face with a crossbow that's under the table, pointing your direction. And without moving, you just hear him kind of grin under his chin.
Nice try, Vexali.
Just seeing where it was, dear. Didn't want to sit on it.
So do you know my coin is mine?
As is mine.
He kind of puts the hat up a bit over his eyes. Now you can see him. Gives you kind of a sort of a brow push.
Did you hear what I said to Kaylee?
As much as I could from a distance, yeah. It seems our old pal finally had his adventures catch up to him.
How do you feel about that?
I've had friends come and go through the years. It's part of the job.
Can't be true. That cold?
Well, no, each one hurts, but look, Bill, I've lived in some of the harshest landscapes Tal'Dorei and beyond has to see. I've watched people torn asunder in the streets before me.
I hold on to my purse the entire time I'm talking.
Okay.
That was so subtle.
Make a perception.
There's a lot in there.
Motherfucker.
You know your own kind.
22.
22. You catch the crossbow still placed there, but his other hand has kind of slipped underneath and has been kind of slowly reaching towards.
Trying to cop a feel, darling.
Always.
He wiped a nose on his cheek.
So cash.
But not cold, just pragmatic. When you lose enough people, you learn to just move on.
Yeah, but Scanlan's special.
He's a special pain in my ass. Nah, he's great. He'll be missed.
He will be. Scanlan.
The Scanlan Shorthaul, and our brief but very lucrative career together. By the way, if you're curious, we're looking to sell off some of this really nice silverware that we've been...
You motherfucker.
That's right, it's ours. Shit.
He just kind of smiles at you, his big, bright, toothy grin.
You're lucky that our keep was under attack and everything else got ransacked. Otherwise, I'd come after you.
I'm always lucky. That's why I'm still alive.
Well, give some of your luck to Scanlan. I'm going to bed.
All right, I got a few more of these to put down. Stay safe, Vexali.
Yeah, don't come to my room. I'm serious. Don't
It looks
do
legitimate,
anything.
like the wink afterward.
I know.
His face has like a like signals expression.
Come to my room.
Not sure if serious.
Seriously, don't. Seriously.
Right, no, gotcha. Yes, fine. Besides, you seem like you're already shacking up with a curious gentleman.
Isn't he dreamy? I'm gonna head upstairs.
Strange bedfellows.
And he goes and orders another round. You go ahead and find yourself up. There were 2 separate rooms purchased by his skill all the way across the hall. He rapidly hands you the key, and without like making eye contact, he's like,
Your room, Mr. Tien, please, yes.
finds his way, just hear the door slam and lock behind him.
I stay up for a really long time waiting to hear any kind of word from Allura, from anybody, something.
Oh, no, nobody told Allura to
Nope,
contact
they didn't.
you. No.
So I'll eventually go to sleep wondering if Scanlan's alive.
We can't. That's a.
Technically, chronologically, it wouldn't have happened yet, yeah.
Yeah. So, as she's going throughout the room and nothing for the day, this has been, it's taken you guys hours to prepare the ritual, bring Kaylee there, the whole circumstance. So, yeah, she's been up for a few hours waiting. The rest of you guys back at the castle. Anything else you want to prep for the evening?
In the meantime, I wandered over to Carrick just for a minute, and I say, Care, I'm really terrible about lending out my...
Oh, right. Carrick is still here. I forgot. I don't know, bro. It's like no shade on Patrick Rothfuss. This was clearly agreed upon by all, but fuck is he doing here, man? I don't know.
Stuff. I forget who I've given what, and sometimes it doesn't come back. Could I? I'm so sorry. Could I trouble you for that ring back, please?
Oh, just no. He just takes it off. He hands it back.
Thank you. Oh, that is beautiful. Right back where it belongs.
Keyleth kind of taps Vax and goes, smooth. Nice.
That's me.
Now, turn to Carrick and just give him a massive hug. Thank you.
Dude, you know what I just realized in that interaction? I remember us talking about the feeling of the relationship between Percy and Vex versus Vax and Keyleth. And, I was talking about the more, possibly consistent flirting that the Vex and Percy do. You know, their relationship is much more visible. And that just happened right there of like Keyleth patting him on the back with the nice one. And I was just like, oh, like it was a little bit of a snap. And I had a flash of being like, oh, that kind of reminds me of how Paige might interact with me. The way that the way that Keyleth just interacted with Vax. And I was like, I thought about it for a second. And I was like, secondarily to Keyleth, I think Vax is like the second most awkward member of the crew. We don't normally, or at least I don't, normally think about him in that way, that like he's awkward. I normally, think about him, or we call him like edgy, or like a loner. But I think in a lot of ways, he's just really awkward. Like, he's an awkward dude. And because of the like overall dark aesthetic, it comes off as edgy. But he's just kind of socially awkward, much like Keyleth. But Keyleth is a spring plum fairy. And so it comes off very different. And I had that thought. I was like, giving, as much benefit and grace as we can, that's a pretty decent explanation for why their relationship is so much less visible. Vex and Percy are not awkward people at all. Vex especially. Percy isn't really awkward. He's weird. He's not actually that awkward. He's just eclectic, which is, different. These two are super awko. And that would lead to very different visibility within their relationships, and like how their relationships come off to us, especially when our vision of it is pretty exclusively sort of highlight-esque moments, right? We don't get a lot of the more boring moments where even, a more awkward relationship, you might see little things there. Yeah. I did not think about it until now, but yeah. He's not very socially adept. Yeah, he's a bit of a goober, but his Assassin's Creed ass aesthetic, his Dark Brotherhood tight leathers, give him the vibe of being edgy. Yeah. He's not gonna have a presence. She hides in the shadows, not to not talk to people. Yeah. Yeah, Keyleth is the virgin princess. In terms of archetype, yeah. He just likes to wear black and be sneaky. He has been depressed for a couple dozen episodes, but he's a little shit who likes pranking and or kissing his friends. Yeah. This is all true. And like Gilmore, to Gilmore's credit, in terms of like Gilmore like obviously having a very high charisma and like to a large extent understanding Vax, they primarily flirted when they were off and alone. Like, one of the reasons that Hodis's ambush worked is because one of the ways to like emotionally interact with Vax is to get him one-on-one, because he's too awkward in front of other people. He's too like socially anxious. Like, that's why that we saw that's how they interacted before the Hodis ambush. And then I think that's a big part of why the Hodis ambush worked. I don't think most of the other characters would have gone to the ledge with Gilmore, but like that's how like Vax is used to like interacting at a deeper level with people. He goes and talks to them in the bath. He doesn't, just pull them off aside where they're still in view of everybody. He fucking talks to Percy when he's setting up the Raven Queen temple. He talks to he talks to him in the bath. Like, yeah. He kind of needs that isolation. Because in front of other people, it's too, he gets too quiet. Aw. It's actually a little cute when you think about it like that. Not cute, but like, it's less annoying when you think about it like that. It's more understandable, yeah. Vex and Percy do be horny on main. They're so horny on main, dude. Two awkward people who are dating but stand 3 feet apart at all times. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, something tells me Keyleth isn't into PD8. Precisely. Like, one of the reasons when you guys have asked me, like, who am I and who's Paige and, like, Vex and Percy, because I said our relationship is more like them. I still think it is, but also broadly, I'm super cool with PDA, and Paige is super not into it. And so, as someone who is in it, but she is like definitely more into like physical touch as like a love language, just not in front of other people. So that is very natural, or it makes a lot of sense to me in that way. Yeah. Raven Queen. Oh wait, Vax called Raven Queen a bitch, and she made him a champion. You funky little weird. This is all true, Belphegor. This is prime analysis, and I agree. Never really thought of Vax like that before, but I definitely agree. Yeah. Social cues are kind of out of the window when you get into someone else's bath, arguably randomly. Yeah, man, he doesn't get it. That's, we always talk about and I walk away, and we, talk about being an edgy little weirdo, but it's because he doesn't know how to exit a conversation while, like, maintaining social norms. Yeah. It's very interesting.
Thank you so much for following us into the fray. Literally into the pit of the beast, so thank you. There's not a lot of people who would blindly follow us there.
It was a pleasure, and it was a double pleasure to actually come out again.
I don't know if I would say risking your life is a pleasure, but I appreciate your positive attitude on the whole thing.
It was nice to have something to do again, something worthwhile to do again.
I'd say you definitely spent your time wisely. What do you plan to do next?
If you folk are heading back to the city tomorrow, I should meet up with my people. They don't need me to shepherd them exactly, but I should head back with them.
Okay. Well, thank you for everything. Sincerely.
Good job, Grant.
I give him another hug and say goodnight and go in the castle.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay with Scanlan for the night.
Okay, so you take him back to his chambers where it may be, and you just stay next to him as he's sleeping, making sure he's okay. All right. Everyone else just...
I'm just staying outside his room.
Okay.
I was gonna go find Alora and actually ask her if she had a message spell. Or a sending spell, and I was totally gonna do that before like everyone started making the jokes about us being shitty and forgetting. That would be awful.
I was really looking forward to it, to
wait for 24 hours to figure, 12 hours to figure out if a friend is alive or dead.
As you go find her, she's already kind of in her night clothes and has brought her hair down. And it's like, yes, actually, I can. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, she must be insane right now, or half drunk, or both.
Probably both.
Yeah, I would be.
Anything,
yeah.
Well, I will make sure she knows.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Sleep well. You've done good.
You too. Thank you.
You've all finished what I started.
I think we'll head back with you tomorrow to Amon so we can check in on our keep. Once Vexalia comes back, of course.
Very well.
Okay.
I can bring most of you with me. Should not be an issue. All right, rest well. Have a good night. She goes back inside.
Carrick will probably like track down a bottle of some kind of like really strong liquor, and look for grog.
Okay, it doesn't take you long to find it. You've seen where they keep most of it, and since you're already an esteemed guest of the keepers here of Whitestone, they've given you a bottle already opened, but promised to have been fine quality, and it doesn't take you long to hear the various bodily functions of Grog Strongjaw in the hallway, watching Scanlan's room. So yeah, as it's now in the middle of the night, close to midnight or so, you come across Grog alone, kind of leaning up against the wall, arms crossed, just waiting outside of Scanlan's room.
And I just kind of pass the bottle over and say, this is a better sort of vigil than what I've seen in the past.
Well, that is true. That could have been much. What is this?
They seemed really impressed that they were giving it to me.
They gave it to you. You
didn't. The extent of my knowledge.
You didn't pay for it. No coin. You don't know if it's like cheap or expensive.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's top shelf. Not that I would know.
Hold on. Let an expert take a taste, and I'll take a sip. Do I detect any notes of stuff?
Roll an intelligence check.
Come on, get.
You need to aerate it.
That's a 3. No, that's a 1.
You detect notes of alcohol. Very strong alcohol.
And liquid.
Yes, this is clearly the finest reserve alcohol of the area. We shall enjoy this at great lengths. Send you on your acquisition of a great.
Whoa.
I think I just stroked out on that word. Here.
And so I just kind of share some space, we chat a bit, and then I kind of bring up that whole resurrection ritual. I, slowly so that sort of thing has happened before with you folks.
Yeah, it has, unfortunately. A bit too often. But I have to say, before this group, I didn't even know, people could do that. Because you know me, I can't do anything like that. Have you ever done one of those?
No. I've looked into things like that, but I've never known anyone who's actually come back.
Really?
Do you? Yeah.
Wait, so are you saying that someone coming back is rare?
I've heard stories and I know, but I've never seen it myself, and I don't know how much. I never knew how practical any of the stories were before.
Yeah, I don't really know how practiced they are either, but I guess I hadn't really thought about it much. It just seems like the others in the group are so responsible for it. This one was hard, though. I felt like it might not work,
So it always works?
Well, yeah. I mean, of the ones I've seen.
And has it always been? How do you need a body?
For what? Like to stay warm at night, or for a resurrection?
No, have you ever brought someone back when you didn't have the body?
No.
I expect that couldn't happen.
Oh, okay. Because that would be weird. I mean, what would you use? You can't bring along a tea cozy and then be like, bam, you're back. How would that even work? What are you talking about?
Exactly. How any of that work? And that is about as subtle as Carrick can be. At this point, awake for 3 days and 2 wars and a dragon. That's why he's desperately trying to pump Grog for information about how the hell someone can come back.
Yeah. If you have questions, the wall behind me also knows probably as much as I do.
And that's this is especially the person, the only person I could trust to realize that, to not realize that I was trying to get information out of him on this subject.
Yeah.
And then when it does not, it kind of dead ends. I just drink as much of that as bottle as I can, moving it back and forth between the two of us for the rest of the night.
I'm good with that.
Do I hear them at all on the other side of the door?
You hear muttering from across the wall, but do you want to listen in?
I was actually hoping to be around the corner for a chunk of this because I was heading to Scanlan's room as well.
Both of you guys make perception checks.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you take a big shiny thing, and then someone starts like,
19.
You're around the way. You catch the tail end of the conversation, mainly just the questioning back and forth. You pick up bits and pieces of it, and you're able to make out the gist of the conversation.
Okay. I'm gonna peek my head out the door.
Okay, as you guys are finishing, passing the bottle back and forth, Scanlan's door opens, and Pike just barely pushes her head out from the crack.
Hey!
Oh my God!
What are you drinking? And why didn't you bring some to me?
Shit, really good point. We might be in trouble, Cat.
I have made a terrible mistake,
Yep.
but it is one that I can fix.
Yep. All is all
And I know this is why the gods gave us 2 hands. I will bring back 2 bottles.
Is that why the gods gave us 2 hands? They gave us 2 hands for 2 bottles. I am so wise right now.
That must be like a intelligence serum.
So, did they teach you that in your Sarah Temple classes? Because if not, maybe you have a thing or two to teach them now.
Probably not, Grog, but thank you.
All right, now I'm coming around the corner. I waited long enough.
So Percy, you hear just enough to hear, talk about needing a body, and then alcohol.
Percy, the gods give you 2 hands for bottles for each of them.
4 if you can learn to use your feet.
That's too much.
Can I-
Is that too much for you?
My brain will.
Can I insight check him since I could hear what was going on?
Sure. Make it with disadvantage because it was through a wall.
Okay.
It's hard to pick up nuances without seeing expressions and stuff.
It's just base.
Yeah, basically, practically.
18.
18? That's too hard to pick up the nuances. From through a wall, I mean, the fact that you can pick up any of the words is one thing, but most of insight is based around, facial expressions, physical activity. You have no idea.
Probably some intermittent farting.
That too, yeah. So you wander in.
Yes,
Garrett's wandered away.
I'm going to wander into the room with a nod. Just sit for a moment.
Wait. Prove that you're you.
No.
It's you.
Love you so much.
All right, so you sit for a bit. Care eventually returns with a second bottle of matching alcohol, unopened though. The same.
2 hands.
Oh, so you go for a third bottle as well. So
Yes.
2 unopened bottles of the same brackish liquor.
And I'll pass one to both of the people that I was not drinking with before. I'll pass them off.
Okay, so Pike and Percival, you have a fresh bottle jammed into your hand.
One for me.
I'll be passing this around a bit.
Should we all sit on the bed around Scanlan like a slumber party?
Is that creepy?
Honestly, I'm thinking about going through his thing, so no, I don't think it is.
No. Okay.
Scanlan is definitely alive.
Oh my god. What were you guys talking about out there? If I can be so rude to ask.
The liquor, it has fabulous brackish notes.
Yep. Notes of brack.
Great.
Thank you, we make it here.
We were. I was also talking about what a great job you do. Apparently, you're really rare.
What do you mean?
Apparently, you and your resurrections, they don't always work, which is amazing.
They don't always work.
I didn't know that.
They don't. We've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate. What did you? Why do you ask, Care?
I've never actually seen anything like that before. It was quite an experience. Am I still wearing my armor? I might actually ask that out loud.
And he is. He's still wearing his armor, unwashed. A few of you have gotten washed. A few of you are still kind of, going over the events today. Grog is not washed.
Grog never washes.
Yeah.
Parfum de Grog.
So yes, he's still wearing his armor.
You get the marvelous spectacle of a slightly older, slightly portly man shrugging out of a full suit of chainmail. It's entertaining, and then just dumps it on the floor, and then the padding underneath.
That's a lot of shit you wear, man.
You know what I forgot over all these years? The sweat gathers in your ass.
Yeah.
Swamp ass.
Swamp crack. Yeah.
It's a thing.
It's, you'd think that I would remember, but no, I had forgotten that.
It just drips right in.
I forget, and then suddenly I remember that I met you all in a prison cell.
I remember very well.
It's not fair, is it?
What?
Well, just one day, you lose so many people, and then just one day you stop. And at what point in your life you decide that suddenly, for no reason, you're just not allowed to die yet. Your life isn't your own anymore. Suddenly you've done what you were supposed to do, and now you're back, and it's just not yours anymore, is it? And what of everybody else? It's not fair, any of it. I don't know.
You don't think your life is your own?
I know my life isn't my own. My life is all of yours. My life is my sister's. My life is this castle's. My life ended.
Do you feel...
I'm very glad to be here. I just miss an awful lot of people, that's all. And I don't understand how we get to choose.
Oh.
I understand.
I know.
I just got it too.
I know you don't, Grog. I'm so grateful that you don't. To the unyielding unfairness of the universe.
Yep, raising drinks.
I'm not even here and I'm raising
Fucking A.
I'll drink.
And that it decided that we get to keep this bastard. Hardly fair.
What do we tell him when he wakes up?
That's why I was thinking about going for all of his things. We could just leave him in a gutter somewhere. He's reincarnated 100 years in the future. I don't know. I keep thinking of terrible things to do to him now.
It's pretty funny.
I know.
I've not explored any of that, and it is amazing.
Well, we were all troubled. I feel like once Vax is awake, we'll really have an expert at this sort of thing available.
Now's a chance to throw something in the acid.
I wish I could hear that.
I wish I could hear that.
Regal's not even here.
Oh my
You
god.
could run roughshod over that motherfucker.
You're not in the room. You're not in the room, asshole.
This is talking to towels.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if Percy has that much of a lack of propriety. I'm really debating though. How much do we had to drink?
I mean, that was sick. I have nothing complicated to say about that. That was an incredible and concise, not emotional representation, but I don't know exactly the word for it, but it was a really great expression of someone who, I mean, we were just talking about it earlier. Who's someone whose death came at a time, like a satisfying time. I'm not going to say that, it's the exact death he would have chosen, but it was probably the one with the most, not conclusive end, the most, not coalescence. I can't think of the word. But the least amount of like loose threads, things left to do. Like Percy had kind of reached a potential end of the road. And closure. Thank you. Yeah. The death out of all the deaths, the death with the most closure. And I think that's one of the only things we can really ask for in our death. And to have that closure somewhat stripped away from you. Because other people I'm sorry, I'm making sure she's not eating anything. Just because other people other than you decided it wasn't your time. In the same way that someone decided it was your time, right? Percy didn't die of natural causes. He got murdered. Someone else decided to end his journey early. And then his friends decided that he wasn't allowed to be done. That's and even beyond that, it's the unfairness of the fact that we can end each other, It's the I was listening to someone speak recently. And I'm not going to get too much into the context, but essentially, it was, well, I don't even know if I want to bring that up. The context might be a little bit, we might get too far into it, and we definitely don't have time with ads coming up in a minute. But basically the idea that we have the power to end other people's journeys, right? And how monumentally unfair it is. Monumentally. Just at a core of philosophy, how unfair the universe is that someone else drunk driving could kill me. That is monumentally, cosmically unfair. And then you add the layer of resurrection. Now, Percy did choose, it seems, to come back. So there is that layer to it, but still. And how well acted to get it there, yeah. And then there's the whole other aspect of, yeah, could they bring back other people that they have chosen not to? Because they've had a lot of bodies that they could have spent a diamond on. What's the price of a sentient life? Vox Machina decides every time they don't resurrect someone. They decide that person's life, not worth the diamond. But Scanlan's life, we're going to beg and scrape for. It's a little uncomfy. It's a little uncomfy to really consider. And especially, Care obviously asked...
Ads incoming.
Oh.
Take cover.
Oh, there it goes. I guess it wasn't going. Like, Care obviously asked Grog, and Grog was like, I don't think you can resurrect without a body, but we know that you can. And that also adds an entire other level. Percy's a broken man who's aware of that, but also underestimates what grief and loss did to him and refuses to look so many things in the face. Absolutely. Yeah. Percy didn't lose his life, but gained it. Before he was living for revenge, he made the connections with the other people in the city. He made a life. I think that is certainly a way to look at it from the outside. Clearly, Percy does not feel that way. And it's an incredible thing to be able to express. Like, this episode is a bombshell of care. what's up? Hello, I'm back. Yeah. I thought about it more in the bathroom, as I keep doing. And a short addendum, I think the thing that is so interesting about Percy's statement and mindset is not only the, generic total unfairness of life. And I don't even think he's making a specific statement about himself. It's not just the personal unfairness of life, but also the unfairness of who gets to come back. And primarily because resurrection is not a meritocracy, what's the adjective of that? Meritocratic process. Some cosmologies, some real life, religions or philosophy or religions, have, afterlife or rebirth as this relatively as this process that the dead person has to really actively engage in. It's like a lot of the underworld myths in Greek mythology. Even if someone has to come into the afterlife to save them, they then both have to escape together. Or there has to be, some process done by the dead person. It's a very active process. And while in Mats and in D&D cosmology, the soul has to be willing, willingness is not the same thing as active. You know what I'm saying? The soul that is being brought back is completely passive in the process. They just have to not actively refuse it, which you could say is a distinction without a difference. But when it comes to the experience of going through it, when it comes to the moral and philosophical ramifications, the fact that Percy could get pulled back from from the inside of the gun being eaten by a demon, the fact that he could be pulled back and the only thing he had to do was not say no, and yet the vast majority of sapient life gets condemned because they just so happen, by circumstances of their birth, to not be friends with a powerful cleric. That's really fucking unfair. It's a whole new level of unfairness, right? It's not even like Orpheus and Eurydice is a good example of, to my understanding at least, Orpheus is not especially gifted in any way. He makes a deal. He has a sacrifice. He puts in a substantial effort in order to get Eurydice out of Hades. It's not like anyone can just put in a bunch of effort and resurrect someone. That's just not how it works. You need to know the spell and put in a bunch of effort and have the material wealth to bring someone back. There's, even a bit of a wealth disparity aspect to this. Of the wealthier you are and the more well-connected, the more likely it is that you get to live to the end of your natural lifespan. As long as you have the right people in your pocket. That's unfair. And this isn't me, making even a big moral judgment on this situation. It is just a fascinating perspective from someone who went through it. And no one else at the table has really given much thought to their deaths. And it's so fascinating to hear that from Grog, you know? It's like Percy chiming in right now is not coincidence. It's contextual of like Grog is almost flippant about resurrection. Of like Care saying, you know, does it always work? And Grog being like, well, I mean, I don't really know. It's always worked for us. And the only reason that he can even have even that remote level of confidence is because they have done it so many times. They have done it so many times. It's yeah, man. The character work is great this episode. Yeah. National Resurrection Service. Willing in that case means not going against their consent. It doesn't necessarily mean with enthusiastic consent. I agree, yeah. Which is, it sounds like was kind of Percy's perspective. You know, he's like, yeah, I'm happy now. But it is a little weird, like, to get pulled back like that, you know? Could that be why Care is still there? Matt wanted them to poke this beehive? Could be. Possibly. Yeah. A little behind, but Orpheus was uniquely gifted in music, trained by Apollo. Oh, that is true. That is true. Yeah. So there is still a little bit of that, of knowing the right person. It's a little bit more general than that, you know. It's just like he had a gift, not, you know, the specific. But yeah, it's definitely not a perfect metaphor in that way. Because you're right, yeah, Orpheus did have a random Greek peasant couldn't have done what Orpheus did. Yeah. Not a perfect example since Orpheus was the greatest musician, but yeah. But it's interesting. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, it's up to you. Other members of this room have gotten quite...
Well, the math is always how much you've had to drink versus distance it takes to travel to get to your goal, because they kind of balance each other out.
Yeah, that's true.
The longer you have to go.
If you're stationary, that's one thing.
Yeah, but I gotta go a mile. Half of it's downstairs. I don't know.
We could play a prank on him.
I think that's a great idea. I think I need somebody with a better mind for this.
I'll walk out of the room.
Is there any other business you guys want to conduct before the evening's done?
Did you want to go through his things?
That would be cruel. Well, that's you're a decent person, should we?
Well, what if he happens to have something on him that requires attention?
I actually would agree, because what if there's something, you know, that he needs our help with but feels weird about asking?
Right. Or if he has, what if there's, well, I was thinking like a plant that needs watering, except something you would have in your pocket, which is not a plant.
Care, by the way, is pretty thrashed at this point.
Thanks for clarifying. There are multiple meanings to anything.
I've got an idea.
Okay, what's your idea?
I'm gonna need one of your nightgowns and some of the pudding from downstairs kitchen.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Can I go grab one of my? I'm gonna go grab one of my nightgowns.
I'm gonna send for some desserts from downstairs.
I had nights like this in college, you guys. It's not cool when you wake up like this.
All right, nightgown retrieved. Pudding, a little stale, but retrieved.
That's fine. Stale is better.
Is my nightgown a little big on him?
Actually, yeah. You're a little thicker than Scanlan.
She's a monster.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's right. I got all the games.
He's like a monster.
Essentially, yes.
Coach Python Joe.
You're the monster. All right, so you have the nightgown, you have the pudding. What's the plan?
What are you thinking?
Well, first we're going to have to strip him.
Okay.
We're going to put him in your nightgown.
Okay.
We're going to just sort of leave him hanging off the bed and decorate the entire room with all the desserts we brought up and just smear them in interesting patterns. Maybe some Latin everywhere. Just wonder what happened. Let's just leave him a tableau.
We'll have an art party.
I think it's a fabulous idea.
With food. All right, so I'll start undressing him.
All right, so, Care, you watch as Percival and Pike undressing Scanlan's comatose body and redressing in a nightgown.
Terrible.
And then, stage by stage, taking handfuls of room temperature, probably day-old pudding and desserts and smearing them across the room and Scanlan himself.
We're going to braid his hair as well.
It could be like a week before he wakes up. It's all like moldy and nasty.
I'm going to smear in some of it on his forehead so he can read it in the mirror backwards. It's just going to say, no, never.
With a quill? That's a lot of letters.
Gently with it. You can fit that.
It's a small forehead.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It's fine. I do too much.
I have a nightgown and you've got the pudding. Now what are you going to do? And cross-stitch on my wall.
Alrighty, so you complete your art project. Take it however you feel, witnessing the event, Carrick.
Actually, Carrick at some point is probably like, if you got some ribbons, get his hands.
Oh my God. I'm shocked.
On the bedpost.
I'm shocked.
You, sir, are a man of the world. What a great idea.
A man of the world.
I'm going to retrieve 2 of my scarves from my with two of the yeah.
That's perfect.
The next scarves.
Great. Okay.
Not too tight.
Not too tight.
Not too tight.
Gentle.
No, that's not that sort of knot. You have to wrap it around and then through. Actually,
you unintentionally learn more about Carrick's history than you expected.
I feel like I'm getting so many more chapters.
Yes. All right. And with the presentation complete, your diorama, con Scanlon. The evening draws late. It is now probably a good 2:33 o'clock in the morning upon completion.
It is time for sleep.
Did I ever get a message?
Yeah, you did get a message from Allura that tells you that the ritual is successful. Scanlon is alive. Yes. Yes.
Wake Trinket up. He's alive! He's alive! And I'm running out of the room. He's alive! To the entire bar down below.
Trinket rushes out of you.
It worked! It worked! Who's awake? Anyone? Is anyone awake?
You look down and there's maybe 3 people in the open expanse of the tavern floor, 2 of which are passed out on tables, one of them in their own vomit, and there is the door to the tavern is still open, and the one barkeep is somebody else who's taking on the night shift, who's currently just sitting back and reading a book. He just kind of looks up at you. Shh.
You!
What?
I'm buying you a drink! I'm running downstairs and you're drinking.
Okay, you approach the gentleman who, receding hairline, short, kind of salt and pepper hair, bit of a double chin going on, a portly fella in his probably late 40s or so, kind of square, spectacles at the tip of his nose with his book. He sits down to the side. He's wearing just a simple tunic with a little bit of a apron on. Sure, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. I'll pour him my drink.
What's the best thing you've got?
That's, within reason.
That'll be the supple wake. He kind of pulls this dark red kind of terracotta jug from underneath, and he kind of has a wax seal on the top of it that's kind of currently closed off. And he goes, "This'll run you about 20 gold for the bottle." So that's we have.
I'm in. Let's do it. And then pour a bowl of ale for my bear here.
He looks over and he just sees like lumbering across the room. He didn't notice at the time, just kind of transfixed by
He
your
was in my necklace earlier when I came in.
Yeah, and suddenly there's a giant beard. Okay. Just goes ahead and empties, fills 3 small glasses, passes them over, and puts over into a bowl and kind of sets it onto the edge. And Tree kind of pulls and grabs the edge of the bowl with a big claw, tips over, kind of splashes, and
Drink up, Buzzard. That's some expensive
on the
shit.
top, gets both arms up on the actual bar, and is kind of crushing the wood a little bit, and he's knocks the bowl over, and it's spilled out. And he's the guy's just sitting back, leaning further and further away, grabs his glass.
Cheers. What a great night.
To the night shift.
We've been playing this game 3 years. You wait 3 years to pull out that brand new sound effect of a cork coming out.
It's been a long time to learn.
Wow.
Put yourself a lot of
5 years.
God, 5 years. It's true, no, 5 years.
2, and
Yeah,
then
we started back in
4.5,
1905, right?
What?
1995.
Yeah, it was spring break, Cancun.
So, evening comes full circle. Rest comes about. The next day presents you with rest, comfort. You're healed full. You've restored your hit points. You get back half of your hit dice. You also, bright and early as you all begin to kind of rouse from your slumber and wake up, Scanlon's still asleep, still covered in the mess that you left him in. And shortly into the morning, there is a series of quick footsteps up from the lower regions of the castle as Vexalia arrives, especially transported by Eskel Rindarian to Whitestone. So as you rush in, you can see everybody kind of slightly groggily, having their breakfast in the main eating hall of Whitestone Castle.
Where is he? Where is he?
Oh no, he's still sleeping.
He's still sleeping it off.
Oh.
I don't think he's actually woken up yet.
Oh, it takes a lot out of you.
It does, yes.
How's everyone? Are you good? How'd it go? Good. I'm so worried. I'm so glad to be
How
here.
was your night? What did you? How was it? How was that town?
The town.
Yeah.
I didn't see much of it.
No?
Outside of a bar.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Me and Eskel had some times, though, I can tell you.
Really? I never pegged him for
That guy is a partier.
No way. What?
Oh, yeah.
Fascinating to know.
Yeah. He moves on me, Percy. You should be aware.
Really? Really?
A lot.
At which point you turn around in the room and you see Eskel entering with his little walking stick,
Eskel, you devil! You little pit fiend! You look at you!
Such impropriety. Such
I'll take my meal in my room.
Oh, he's
Thanks again, darling.
having a
It was
hangover
wonderful.
meal.
You gave him back problems.
Good day.
slowly turns around. Where is my manservant? And he wanders off into the castle.
Jack,
Well,
where
today?
are you?
Well, I guess, I mean, I know Laura's going back to Amon to check in on things since we kind of left in a hurry, but I guess we should wait for Scanlon to wake up.
Well, there are things to do, I suppose. There's still a list of things that need to be taken care of.
Yeah. And I suppose we really shouldn't rush Scanlan. I mean, we might be able to do some of those. And
Sleep is the best medicine.
it is.
Some people say that. Also, real medicine is
Probably.
well, but it's really good for rejuvenation. What are we doing?
Like holistic cleric.
Pretty much anything is good.
Carrick now wanders in very hungover.
Good morning.
Yeah, very. Yeah, I look every bit as old as I am.
Yeah, swamp ass.
Hey.
Are we not?
I remember.
I don't remember what.
He was talking about his butt getting sweaty.
Oh. That got
We all
weird.
agreed it happens.
I'm actually not here. I never left the temple.
Stay there overnight?
Yes, I did, and we'll have a flashback now.
Okay.
Super quick. Really easy. Yeah, fucking exhausted. Set down everything that I own on the altar, and took 10 minutes to take off all the armor, and laid that out on the altar, and just get your candies unwrapped, grandmas, and just stared at it for a long time, wondering what happens now. That's it, and then I stayed there the whole night.
Okay. So, as you guys can eat breakfast. Yeah. And you arrive, catch up everybody if your brother's not there.
What about?
Your brother's not here.
Where are they? He stayed in the Raven Queen's temple. I know that.
He stayed in the temple?
I think he did. I don't know. I was up in the room.
That's where we saw him.
He stayed there when we left, so he could still be there. I'm not sure.
He didn't come back last night, so I'm assuming he stayed.
Well, I'm gonna go find him. I give Percy a kiss on the head as I walk back. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
I'm glad you're alive.
I'm very glad to be alive.
Where's my brother?
She's in a really good mood.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
Maybe you should hit up Eskel for some tricks.
I know.
I think that might be fun.
I didn't know you guys had that kind of a relationship.
Girth of
Is
things that you do
know,
not
is that-
know could fill such a cavern.
Music girth.
I did. Helen. So proud of you.
That influence of Vox Machina.
The entendres.
All right.
Yeah, Bex taught me that was funny.
Wow, thank you. I didn't need that. That was good.
Facts. After a long night of meditation on your place between the mortal realm and the divine, the ramifications or meaning behind the choices and allowance that destiny still lays unfulfilled to have not felt intervention against the return of the spirits of those you've lost weighs a bit on you. The idea that to not allow a thread be severed means there is still a plan. And that worries you, because that means in what little scope you have, you don't see that there is still more work to be done, at least as far as she's concerned. As tonight you've had nothing but silence within the temple. And then, poof, the doors slam open, the bright light from the morning just across you, and you're on the altar, and there you see, silhouetted in the light, the outline of your sister.
What are you doing? Trinket's outside. It's holy in here.
Don't come in here, Trinket, I'm naked.
Well,
Yeah.
I walk in blindly with my hand in front of me. Are you really naked? We're just saying that. Where are you?
I stand up and let my dinglies dangle.
No. Hey,
Yeah.
I heard he's alive.
Yeah.
That's pretty great, right? I turned my back to him so I can open my damn eyes.
Okay.
What are you doing sleeping in here?
Give her a naked hug from behind.
Ah, creepy! Get off! Fucking gross.
Oh, we used to take baths together. What? What's so funny? He is, and I back off. He's good.
Yeah.
You missed quite a performance, actually.
Oh, really? By whom?
The younger Shortholt.
So she did contribute.
Oh, yes.
Thank God that trip wasn't for nothing.
I used to have to put on my sort of Mormon unibody underwear whole thing. So that's done, huh?
What's done? What?
Dragons.
I mean, can I turn around?
Yeah, I've covered
Okay.
the glory.
I mean, I think so, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what she was up to, but... What are you doing in here? Why are you sleeping in this cold, creepy temple when everyone else is celebrating?
You encouraged me to embrace all this.
Oh, well, yes, of course. Not to the detriment of, your happiness.
I'm happy-ish.
Ish.
What happens now?
Now that dragons are defeated and all of Taldore can live in peace and harmony and Vox Machina are the heroes that everyone was searching for.
You staying here?
Staying where? Here? Here in this temple? Here in Whitestone? I know what you're talking about. I mean, I do have a keep here, right? A castle, a home.
A husk.
I also have money.
Yeah.
I can build. What are you going to do? Would you stay?
Here?
You have a temple.
I know. I like it. I slept in it. But,
Oh, I can get some lush pillows put in here as well.
Yeah.
This is on my property after all.
No, I was thinking... I mean, I don't know what any of us are doing, but I was thinking that I might go back with Keyleth for a while.
Right. Well, of course.
I mean, you're set. This is your home now.
I mean, one of...
I don't mean the place or the building. You know what I mean.
I mean, it hasn't been very long, dear. Who knows what's going to happen?
Sure.
Sure. Would you like me to travel with you in Keyleth?
I would never turn you away, but I think that you have activities to explore here. But no, I mean, you are my heart. You are me. You're my other half. You are welcome with me always.
Why are we talking about this? Don't talk about this now. This is a time for happiness. Don't talk about sad things. Please. Please.
I am happy.
Good.
The happiest I've been in a long time.
Good.
Long time.
Come.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you know, I'm in my undies, so
Well, put
why don't
your
you go
armor
and
on.
I'll catch up. That
I'm
takes
gonna
like
wait
22 minutes, though.
Well, what if I help you?
All right.
Done it before.
Yeah.
10 minutes then, right?
Yeah. Well,
Go get some breakfast after all.
yeah.
Dress week.
And that's how you put on armor.
All right, as you guys are back, you all gather. At this point in time,
Oh man, this is a rare time when where Mega is Vax. It's not often, but I am bad at celebrating. That is not one of my strong suits, and I would absolutely be I would find it difficult to celebrate right now. Sorry, I was doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And it's very interesting. The twins are always interesting. They play off of each other very well, and you can see kind of the more avoidant versus, it's like Vex is just kind of avoiding thinking about it, tries to push it off, tries not to think about it, versus someone who is maybe obsessing about it to their own detriment. Yeah. Who doesn't do anniversaries for practice? I do anniversaries because Paige likes them. Oh, did she? Are you still beefing? Okay.
She started pawing at Sarah.
Oh, fun. Paige and Bert are beefing. But yeah, I do not do. I don't do birthdays. This is fair. Yeah, I don't know. I'm much more Vax than Vex in this one, yeah. And it is, I also would feel disquieted. Especially with that fucking implication that Matt just gave that Vax is probably the only one that is like actually thinking about, because he's more intimately involved with that side of things. It'd be hard. Anxiety twin and depressed twin. It's actually I'm depressed twin, but I think he's anxiety twin in this. Interesting. Not talking about wedding anniversaries. I meant like channel achievements. Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I don't do those. Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. Bax's "I'm happy" was not very convincing. Well, yeah. Inside of you are two half-elves. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wrote it once again. He needs a mission. He needs a goal. Especially if, I think it would be extra hard if you had this internal feeling that something was off. Like, I think that there's a certain amount of Vax that just, like, that needs that external pressure to guide him, just in general. But I think it is probably exaggerated and exacerbated when you also feel like something is wrong, like something is off and you can't quite place it. It's worse than if something's off and you know what it is,
Allura and Kima have woken, met up with you, beginning to get arrangements and telling you to gather your things if you're going to journey with them to Amon to find your way there. You guys have everything you need?
Need?
Yes.
I mean, we're all healed. Everything's great.
Yeah, you all had a night's rest.
What are we gonna do? We're bringing Scanlan with us?
No.
No.
Scanlan's gonna stay here?
Yes.
Alone?
Yes.
He's got nurses.
Well, not alone. We can have Keeper Yenin watch over him. We have a number of guard here, and as soon as any word comes to him rousing, we will make sure that it's sent to us.
Pike, how's he looking?
Somebody should probably roll him over and change his knots.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What knots?
At this point,
the nurses were given some instructions.
Actually, just like not looking, just laughing to himself. He just can't stop laughing.
and as his laughter begins to build, a second set of laughter gets to join in his, as you see coming around the corner, laughing. As still drunk, not slept, Kaylee comes in, kind of circles in her eyes, and just goes, well, there's some fancy work. Whoever did that?
Oh, shit, she's not the room.
That's choice.
You're welcome, dear. Seemed the least we could do.
Figured it was appropriate when he woke up. He would.
What did you do?
Not anything.
Not exactly. Not.
Well,
You know,
Although really, though, really, his arms will be asleep. There's going to be a problem up there.
You know what? I'll stay here. I'll watch over him. I'll make sure the nuts are changed in time. I kind of want to be here to see his face.
Did he break a leg or something?
Well,
Oh, we wanted to make sure he stayed, that he didn't, roll off the bed.
Make sure he stays comfortable.
Just keep him there.
all right.
I feel like
keeping him in the manner of which he is comfortable.
Yes.
How you doing, Katie?
I'm fine.
You look great.
I'm sure I do. Her hair's kind of all clustered to one side now, and you can see there's stains on her shirt. But she still looks like she could probably take somebody in a bar fight. You can see why. You can definitely see in this moment more than anything, she is a short halt stock. Well, go on. Do your thing.
You sure? You'll be all right here. I mean, I'm sure Percy can let you have whatever you want, right, Percy? Just anything she wants.
No, but if you do need room and some drink, we definitely have that available. And the appropriate authorities have already been. Why are you looking at me like that?
Do I need to remind you of the title you gave me? Surely it holds some power.
It does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wrote that title down.
Of all this and that.
Hang on,
Doink,
Mr. Grand Poobah.
It doesn't really matter. I'm just saying, if she needs something
It's
while
very
we're
important.
gone.
Don't hesitate to ask if you do need anything.
I have decreed it.
Well, I shall certainly ask. I will need everything.
I powerfully aware.
Kind of rushes past you and just sits down and starts eating the leftovers of whatever dish was not finished.
Grand Poobah de Boink. That's the title.
Of all this and that.
I wrote it down. Of all this and that. Yes, in charge of this, of all of this and that. From Percy.
Maybe he is the head.
I need to add that to the campaign
Grand
guide.
Poobah de Boink.
I haven't added that to the campaign guide.
Grand, what is it? Grand Poobah?
Poobah.
De Boink.
The boink.
Like Des Moines, but de Boink.
Of the Vermont?
Of the Vermont de Boinks.
Steady are the winds caused by the thoughts of kings.
That was adorable.
Indeed.
All right. She finished eating. Allura is kind of watching this whole thing in the distance with her arms crossed. Whenever you're ready, shall we?
Okay.
What?
Ready?
Back.
Now, please, hands together. And there's a rush of cold wind. It takes up suddenly a familiar sensation of teleportation as you're all thrust back into the outside of the Cloudtop District, the exterior of the gates. You can see there's still smoke rising up, but as opposed to the clouds of billowing cinders and flame, it appears that most buildings in the immediate vicinity, while blackened, darkened, and broken, no longer rage a burning fire. The smoke has gone from pitch black to bits of dark gray and plumes of white. You can see already there's bustle throughout the city as a number of bodies are laid out across the ground with bits of gathered cloth placed over them, those who had fallen in the battle and are being gathered and being prepared to be brought back to their families.
I immediately look to the sky. Do I see any sign of the Ashari, and what do the clouds look like?
The sky is a clear, cloudless, crystalline blue.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. No sign of Ashari?
No. It's been a day and a half or so since the battle happened. There is no current clouds or storm in the sky. But as you do appear, there are a number of soldiers in patchwork armor, some that appear to be in similar outfits as the Fort Daxio soldiers that you met there during the pre-battle circumstance. There are a few that you recognize as Singorian armor, and a few that are just people gathered what they could and have been part of the fray in the recovery process. You can see it's in all of the turmoil and darkness and the destruction you've seen in the city, it's strangely beautiful and welcoming to see that there is life thriving again as people are returning. Doors are being pushed back up on frames. People are searching for survivors throughout the rubble in the various homes and finding them. And you're seeing families that are stepping out and being reunited as you begin to walk through the street. You can see essentially the hidden heartbeat of the city is re-emerging once more to take back what it's lost. All of you are kind of caught speechless for a few moments as you kind of take in this vision and begin to walk as Allura kind of leads you, looking around and walks on and talks to a few guards. She glances back to you and kind of smiles. Well, you've done it. And you hear a voice behind her kind of echoing the shout, Carrick! And you watch a familiar female face come rushing up in clanking armor. And she rushes up and just socks you across the face.
Is this Samantha?
This is Samantha.
Okay.
Like, where'd you go?
What?
What'd you do?
What did I do?
That man's a hero.
He slayed a dragon.
The big giant one.
The big
Been gone for
green.
2 days.
Killing a dragon.
I told you I might be gone for a while. Is everything okay?
Everything's fine. We're ready to go.
Good. Good. Good.
Oh, we're leaving. Where are you going?
Back where we came from. I've got a town to continue looking after. And now I know that any work I put into it will probably have time to become something worthwhile.
Yeah, plus you got all that money you took from down in the Dragon's Lair, so that helps.
A lot of money.
Hey, make sure your people know. That man played the final note in the song of the Conclave of Dragons.
It's true.
So I'm told.
Care.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's a badass.
His hammer glows.
Well, it did, and then it was destroyed
She's got her
by the
fist.
dragon.
I just punched a badass.
Yeah, like my lip is split and coming out of my nose. I'm like, yeah, that's what you got there is now a holy relic.
She pats you in the arm, kind of clanging her armor against yours. Well, good. Good. Glad to see you back in action. Glad to see you fighting, kicking ass, killing dragons.
Yeah, our folks ready to troop out?
And you see her now, her expression goes from kind of joyous excitement to see him return to a somber tone. Yes, we have the bodies on carts, and the rest of us are ready to make the trek back to Western.
Okay. Thanks. I'll be along straight away. I should say my goodbyes.
All right, well, about 3 blocks down that way, turn to the right, second square.
Okay.
She turns around and makes her way off and kind of looking over her shoulder, kind of grinning a little bit, looks at her fist again, looks back, shakes her head, and just keeps walking.
Bye, Sam.
I can't thank you all enough. And I need you to look after each other, because I will not be here to do it.
You're a good man, Care.
We do our best. And he kind of stands there awkwardly for a moment, and then turns around and walks away.
Care.
Turns around.
Vox Machina was better to have you.
Well, you know where I am.
And you know where to find us.
I'll let you know if we need you. And really, really keep an eye on the knots. It should no more than like 4 hours. And then I walk off into the sunset.
As you guys watch Care just slowly walk down the street, not looking back, making his way to this current chapter of his re-adventuring to gather those he brought out here willing to die for the battle that you finished. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back here in a minute. Pajroff, thank you so much for joining us.
Guys, thank you so much. It was such a treat. I did not plan on kind of being up in your business for so long, but I'm so happy to be a part of this for this piece of the story. I'm so flattered that you'd have me.
Oh man, mutual.
Definitely.
There's a green dragon waiting for you. But
in your bedroom.
He's in my house, and you have to fight me to get it. So,
Okay, that's a deal.
but it's technically yours whenever you come for it.
3 weeks from now, the door opens.
Oh shit! That's bad.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Guys, we'll take a break. We have a giveaway, actually.
Okay, all right. They wanted to close out his chapter, whatever, sure. All right, I'll give it to him. That's fine. They could have Patrick there if they wanted to do a whole thing with his exit. You didn't really have to be here, Care, but whatever. It's a wrap on Rothfuss. Yeah, it's, I don't want to say that I think it's like 100% it, totally makes full-on sense to me. But it makes more sense than it did at the end of the episode for him to be there, What's up?
I saw an article titled Patrick Rothfuss Jokes about how he hasn't finished Doors of Stone, and I got really upset.
Paige is just in here to talk shit on Patrick Rothfuss. That's the only reason that she came into the room. Oh my goodness. Did we hit the halfway point less than 4 hours into stream? Oh my god, I think we did. That's crazy. I mean, it is partially because the episode itself is so short, relatively, and had so much going on that I, didn't want to stop and interrupt. And then, the parts that weren't that there was less to talk about during them. Full ep. It ain't a full ep. I'm gonna give it to you right now. Full ep is partially because of the time that it takes, but there are other reasons I like doing half eps. Was that like a 120 first half? 133. Yeah. 133 first half, and then second half is 120. Oh my goodness. But no. That's gonna be it. Give me more time to film. Film what, you might ask? I don't know. Who knows? But with Age of Umbra, I gotta take care of the boys. Gotta do other stuff. I will unironically. This will appease a certain amount of the audience. I don't know, but unironically, I will probably start filming a Fantasy High episode with the extra time. I will probably film at least half of a Fantasy High during the second half. Plus, I ain't even gonna lie, I'm a little tired. That was a bit of a... I'm kind of glad it was short. Because that was... Yeah. Nice, lighthearted stream. Yeah. Super lighthearted. I didn't... absolutely nothing was... a little bit emotionally taxing. I'm probably going to go take this one. Wait, can I get rid of the stats so you can see your bird? The moment I show you on screen, you duck your head all bashful? No way. Gotta earn your keep, dog. You gotta look cute on camera. Oh, man. That was... Goddamn, what is even the takeaway gonna be of this one? Hoy. It'll probably be something about the resurrection mechanic, unless there's a crazy drop in the second half. There could be. It'll probably be something about the resurrection mechanic, because that was a lot. But thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. It was a lot, but we got through it together. And I will see all of you on Monday. Be there, be square. You can be square if you want. If you want. Be there on Monday. Age of Umbra also comes out on Monday if you didn't watch it live, and then we're going to be talking about it on Wednesday. I will see you all then. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Goodbye.